What's up, Straight Talk Society? This is your host, Trevor, and I'm back with another episode of Straight Talk with Trevor.
Because the ladies from Pour Your Heart Out
no topic
will be over
is
here
off
to
limits.
join the panel.
Plus, but it's a must, you gon' respect this. Plus, you're nuts for touching dust, you try to check this. You ain't
The
insane,
MMA brothers, Bones and Zay, have pre and post shows to the MMA shows. And I am your host, Mr. Straight Talk, the man with the greatest beard on YouTube.
I'm gonna tell you something. Facial hair is not apostolic. However you want to cut it, it's compromise. I don't care if your leader says you can wear a beard, honey. Beard's nothing more than pride. You're not going to be dipped in Holy Ghost oil and run around looking like the world.
Oh, I love throwing that in there. Real quick, I am back on Facebook. I guess they took me out of jail. I was able to connect the channel back. Those of you on Facebook, make sure and hit that like, share, and subscribe button.
And also, on Mondays, 6 o'clock, tune in to the same channel for Man Talk Monday. Trust me, you ain't got nothing better to do. Even if you think you do and you tune into that show, you're going to realize, oh, man,
okay,
I've been missing this.
Yeah. Because this is why you need me.
Once you listen to that, drop a like. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel because you're hard-headed, go ahead and subscribe to it
They
now.
are goofy.
And when you listen to that, if you haven't subscribed, you're going to want to subscribe. And then you're going to want to go back through the archives. And you're going to want to catch up on all your Man Talk Mondays. And then you might be able to find a few Bible debates in there.
That's what I'm going to say. TFP politics is on Tuesday.
Vancat, Mike, MD, and Ricardo do such a fantastic job with that. That's every Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
My position is impregnable. You can't do it.
If that doesn't fancy your boat,
yeah, Wrestling with Reality on Wednesday.
Oh yeah, acknowledge.
We have the return of Straight Talk therapy sessions with the one and only Dr. Mia. So y'all be sure and tune into that.
And then you got the Bible debates on Thursdays.
So yeah, man, lock in with the Straight Talk Society, man, because you won't regret it, and we appreciate it. Also, milk coming out too. Look out for the merch. And if y'all can be so kind as to subscribe to the channel, it's only $1.99 a month. With all this premium content that we pushing out, it's definitely worth it. It just helps provide the channel with a resource to give y'all even better content, as if it can get better, right? But you know, just go ahead and show us some love. We would be greatly appreciative.
The Straight Talk Society. We will not go over that 2.5 hour mark. So, Mike, you know you ain't got no shirt on, right?
I never have clothes on, bro.
But I'm saying you like right on the like crazy.
My bad. I don't like clothes, bro. Anybody that knows me, my
crazy.
Do you really believe that garbage?
It's not about believing, it's a matter of fact.
So you believe.
Well, nobody else could make a decision but me because I was the president. The final decision comes to the president.
You know, it's easy enough for a Monday morning quarterback to say what the coach should have done after the game's over. But when the decision is up before you, and on my desk I have a motto which says the buck stops here, the decision has to be made.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
I want to say this to the television audience. I made my mistakes, but in all of my years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent. And in all of my years of public life, I have never obstructed justice. And I think, too, that I could say that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination, because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got. President? Yep.
Mr. President, I want to raise an issue that I think you've been lurking out there for 2 or 3 weeks and casting specifically in national security terms. You already are the oldest president in history, and some of your staff say you were tired after your most recent encounter with Mr. Mondale. I recall yet that President Kennedy had to go for days on end with very little sleep during the Cuba Missile Crisis. Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
And I'm the one who will not raise taxes. My opponent now says he'll raise them as a last resort or a third resort. But when a politician talks like that, you know that's one resort he'll be checking into. And my opponent won't rule out raising taxes, but I will, and the Congress will push me to raise taxes, and I'll say no. And they'll push, and I'll say no, and they'll push again, and I'll say to them, read my lips. No new
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
You're full of shit.
All right, thank you.
No, shush. Shush.
itself is failing.
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
We won the evangelicals. We won with young. We won with old. We won with highly educated. We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated. Look at you crazy.
Grab him by the pussy.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Baby, shut your mouth, because you don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I did.
Hold it, tough guy. I'm not afraid of physical. Hold it.
Don't sit there and tell me I'm not.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. You fool me, we can't get fooled again.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. Stand back and stand by. Will you shut up,
Last thing was Olivia Gondak. It says that I wanted to eat her pussy. Olivia Gondak. I've never said that in my life tour. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home. Thank you very much.
You got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Okay. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible. I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. We now have a gun on every table. We're ready to start shooting.
By the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
Sarcastic.
That was...
Even though they're trying to impeach the son of a bitch. Can you believe that? You believe that? That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
If I may ask
Peter,
one other
ahead.
question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was going to ask one other.
I don't want reality. I'm asking the question: which one is better? That's exactly what it is.
Got it on tape.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
I don't like words that hide the truth. I don't like words that conceal reality. I don't like euphemisms or euphemistic language. And American English is loaded with euphemisms because Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality. Americans have trouble facing the truth. So they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it. And it gets worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse.
How stupid are these politicians to allow this to happen?
If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution every poll?
No, sit down. Sorry, Eric. Sit down. Look at you.
You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts. Alternative facts. Alternative facts. Alternative facts.
Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
I ain't talking politics. I'm talking life.
I ain't talking politics, I'm talking life.
A lot of emotions running very high in this city right now. Again, this is the presumptive GOP nominee in the middle of an election year for things that he did, that the prosecution said he did to try to corrupt the last election. A just remarkable scene playing out right here in Lower Manhattan.
I want to read, we're getting some color from the courtroom. Tom Winters saying Trump is looking at each juror as they are polled, craning his head at times to look at all the jurors. We're still waiting for kind of a read on what the reaction has been.
All right, so I'm not taking this conviction very well, as you could tell. He got convicted on all charges, and, you know, at this point, we're going to give it to God. God is in control. And
well, God did take control and found Trump
guilty.
He's going to appeal the decision. It's probably going to go up to the Supreme Court. I feel like there's some things that the judge was not fair on, and I think that that's going to be considered in the appeal. But right now, we just need to give it to God and pray on it. Thanks, y'all.
It's disgusting.
So even though a jury found him guilty of a crime, you don't buy it?
A jury in the most blue area you could possibly find, with no possibility of moving it. No, that's crazy. And the charges don't even make any sense.
Does it trouble you at all to have a candidate who's now a convicted felon?
A convicted felon? What do you mean a convicted felon? These are bogus charges. It's nonsense.
Orange jumpsuit, hey, in Leavenworth.
I'm so pleased that there's finally some accountability for Donald Trump. Yeah, he's evaded the law for many years, decades, and it's finally caught up to him. And also, we're fighting for democracy here. This was an election interference case. You know, it wasn't just a porn star sex case. It was an election interference case. And did he do it or not? The jury said yes.
All right, here we go. It's another Tuesday, TFP Tuesday. I'm Venkat, and I'm as always joined with the world's most dangerous political panel. On the panel today, we got MD20. MD, what's going on?
Peace, peace, peace. What's going on? What's happening?
All right, all right. And of course, every week we got a new avatar. We got Ricardo on the panel. What's going on, Ricardo?
Hey, what's happening, y'all? I'm here. I'm doing quite well. What's going on, everybody?
All right. So the title of this week's show, this is episode number 37, and it's Consequences Culture. So we're just going to look at a few things. Obviously, in politics, we've had a lot of accountability occurring from Rudy Giuliani, from all these different Trump blowhards that are out there that are now finding themselves facing jail time, prison time, and so on and so forth. Before we get into our first story, of course, today we had pretty much something that will go with it. Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was convicted today on 3 counts. So let's take a little quick look at Hunter Biden's story here.
The jury has found the president's son, Hunter Biden, guilty on all 3 charges in his federal gun trial. The charges against the president's son include falsifying statements in order to obtain a firearm and firearm possession by an unlawful drug user or addict. He could face up to 25 years in prison for his crimes.
The jury determined the president's son knowingly lied about his drug use to a federally licensed gun dealer in 2018 and also lied on the application to buy that gun, then illegally possessed the gun for 11 days. This is the first time ever that a sitting president's child has faced criminal charges, and now the first time ever a sitting president's son has been convicted of criminal charges.
We're going to take you back now to that breaking news. President Biden's son, Hunter, has been found guilty in the federal gun trial against him. The jury making the decision on 3 felony gun charges after hearing from more than a dozen witnesses. For the first time, the son of a sitting U.S. president has been convicted in federal court. President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, found guilty on all 3 federal felony gun charges. The jury ultimately deciding he violated laws meant to prevent drug addicts from owning firearms. Those 3 counts: count 1, false statement in purchase of a firearm; count 2, false statement related to information required to be kept by federal firearms licensed dealer; and count 3, possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user or addicted to a controlled substance.
This is not a surprising verdict, David, because as a technical matter, the defense had an uphill battle here, right? The moment that this case was going to trial, it was immediately clear that the defense was going to be in trouble.
Hunter Biden has been found guilty on all counts in his gun trial, federal trial in Wilmington, Delaware. All right, Leo, your first response.
Is there any way that plea deal could be stopped? I said the judge. The judge played a major role in the rule of law by saying, I'm not going to agree to this plea deal, had questions, and that's why we're here today. The American public needs to know that. That is the rule of law, and I applaud the judge. That she did an outstanding job in following the rule of law.
This is not only politically damaging to President Biden, but deeply personal, although the president has said he would respect the verdict and not issue a pardon.
He is incredibly close to his son. They speak virtually every day. And as we know, President Biden had said not long ago when asked about all of this, all of the legal trouble swirling around Hunter, that his son had done nothing wrong.
Prosecutors argued Hunter Biden illegally purchased a Colt revolver in October of 2018 while he was allegedly addicted to drugs, accusing him of lying about his addiction on a federal form. During the trial, jurors hearing testimony from several women in his life, including his ex-wife and ex-girlfriend, the owner and employees of the gun shop where he bought his firearm, and a number of expert witnesses. His 30-year-old daughter, Naomi, also taking the stand, but Hunter Biden did not testify in his own defense. His defense lawyer arguing Hunter Biden was using alcohol at that time, but not drugs, and that the form was confusing.
So the defense was fighting an uphill battle, not only really against the facts, but against the law as the judge gave it to the jurors here. Now, I should say that in court, the defense, as is customary, right after the conviction was announced, renewed an appeal for an acquittal from the judge in order to preserve an appeal, and gave notice essentially that they will appeal this case.
So what happens now, Terry, legally to Hunter Biden?
Sentencing next. And these are very serious federal crimes. These are crimes that carry very heavy prison sentences, 10 years each for the false statement and 5 years for the illegal possession of the weapon. Now, that is highly unlikely to be applied to Hunter Biden, anything like that in this case. Experts tell us that for a first offender like him, someone who did not use the gun at all, he just kind of bought it and stuck it in his car, there's no evidence that he was going to use it in any kind of a crime. It would be highly unlikely for Hunter Biden to see prison time. But these are, as I say, very serious charges, and it may well be that prosecutors will ask for some prison time, given the nature of the charges and given what others might face.
And just moments ago, the White House releasing a statement from President Joe Biden on that verdict. He starts off saying, quote, "As I said last week, I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today." The president goes on to say, quote, "As I also said last week, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. Jill and I will always be there for Hunter and the rest of our family with our love and support. Nothing will ever change that."
He might be 50-something years old, but if I was Joe or Jill, I would whoop his ass with a wooden spoon and a flip-flop up and down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Lock him up.
Good for them.
Yeah, maybe lock her up goes to lock him up.
I mean, who cares? Look, like I've said, I've been through some stuff in my life. I've been through some real stuff.
All right, so there we go with Hunter Biden today was indicted, well, actually convicted of 3 counts. So, MD, what do you think here about 1 week later now, we have the president's son convicted?
I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Looking at the case file and how everything went, there's a more valid case to say that this one was trumped up rather than what we had with Trump, no pun intended. I look at it like this. I can assume, you know what I mean, or I can make the belief to say that probably more than half of the people that own guns today do some form of a drug and use alcohol. Let's just keep it real. You know what I mean? When you go fill out, like I said, it varies from state to state. But when you fill out a form under the NICS, NICS, and they ask you all them questions, you just go ahead and put it, because legally you have the right to do so, as long as you haven't been charged with anything. Now, he was charged with falsifying the application because at the time, the prosecution saying that he was addicted to a narcotic and alcohol. Okay, cool. In the sense that we look at how we view weapons and what the legal statutes are, it's no way that you could put this under some type of federal headlock to set a precedent for everybody else in the country. So, am I saying that the judge didn't do the right thing? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this is unprecedented as regards to the crime in and of itself. Now, mind you, the original thing was he was supposed to take a plea deal. For they tried to combine all the charges together that we can assume that's going to fall upon Hunter Biden with the tax fraud and all that stuff. He was supposed to take a plea deal, pleading to the tax charges, and those were only misdemeanors, and he was going to avert the gun charges. And the judge said, no, we're not going to do that. So, at the end of the day, it's up under the judge's discretion. I can't trip on it one way or another. But the fact that, no indictment came down for the tax charges, not as of yet, is a sign to me that says, they were looking to get him on whatever situation they could get him on. And for the MAGA maniacs, there's all type of conspiracy theories that's going to crop up. Hell, I've heard everything from the Biden is sacrificing his son to win the election to he's getting a slap on the wrist comparatively with what Trump got. So at the end of the day, you're damned if you do it, you're damned if you don't. If you're Biden, if you Joe Biden, if you're Hunter Biden, I mean, I guess you could do your last hurrah, smoke all the crack that you need to smoke before you go to jail. So it is what it is.
Oh, all right, MD. So I mean, it's crazy. This is really unprecedented stuff. I mean, you have history was made last week, and here again today. Earlier in the day, we have history made again. This time with a president's son, a sitting president's son. It's just remarkable. But again, you don't see Democrats lining the streets. You don't see nobody saying, "Woe is me, woe is poor Hunter Biden." There's none of that. Nobody's threatening to commit violent acts if it doesn't go Hunter Biden's way. It's a very different response from Democratic side here because they don't care about that. If you're guilty, they just say you're guilty and they move on. But we're latched on to Donald Trump for whatever reason. So, Ricardo, what are your viewpoints here about the events that have transpired here with Hunter Biden?
Yeah, history did again yet for another week, but for a completely alternative individual. Yeah, the verdict today wasn't surprising, but at the same time, again, it was kind of shocking just to see how it all went down. Like MD stated, I echo his sentiments as well. This felt more like a witch hunt, or trumped up just to get at Biden more so than they did for Trump. With that being stated, though, like you mentioned, you don't see Democrats going above and beyond and doing the most and crying and coming up with all sort of excuses that didn't make any sense. There's logical sense, and then there's trumped up nonsense. And when it comes to certain things and how the display and how the contrast between last week and this week, you will notice that people, even in the newsreel piece that you showed before the show started, people came up with all sort of excuses. People are crying. They're going to go to SCOTUS. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Why is it that you can't face reality? Like, it's one thing if, somebody's not being accountable. And then there's another thing when somebody is just plain straight out, just not, gonna accept anything. It's just weird to kind of see in the sense. But with all that stated, like I mentioned last week, when the verdict Trump, I'm going to state the same thing. Biden cleared, even though this is my son, this is my child. I am a parent first before a president. I feel for my child, but I'm not going to pardon him, because what that sets is an unprecedented move that I'm sure is going to be an issue further down the road. Right. He has to, in a way, himself away from the case. Now, is he feeling some type of way inside? Of course he is. He's a dad. So, God forbid Hunter had killed somebody. It would have been the same thing. Does that mean he's not a human being and doesn't feel and is not in touch with the fact that, it's his child that's going to be, going through a number of things? Absolutely. But at the same time, same length and breadth, Hunter is not a child. He's a grown-ass man who, is almost up there in the maturity age just as much as his dad is, because his dad is the oldest president in U.S. history. So Hunter knows or knew of what he was getting involved in, knew what the situation was at hand. And, whether or not, I'm not sure if I've heard him take accountability for, what he has caused. And again, there were worse charges they could have charged Hunter for. I'm not quite sure how this one stuck or stick for him, but again, they had it's a witch hunt, and it's a political one where I felt, in my opinion, because this is not anybody else's on the panel but mine, I felt they needed to come after Biden and the Democrats, and the only way they were able to do it way before that, because if you remember, this all started with you and Hunter having some laptop somewhere, and it just ridiculous from the beginning. But with all that stated, I'm sure I'm not even sure if it's true or not. MD might have to remind me again if they found a laptop somewhere randomly somewhere, and then they decided to come after Hunter Biden and the Biden administration, and then it was all I remember is that during the presidency of there was a whole bunch of stuff that came about from Hunter. So this was from way before. So I feel like this is one of them things where they needed to poke at the Democrats, and for the fact that they impeached Trump and all of that. And they got what they wanted today, because, he's going to be convicted. As for how long he's going to be going to jail for, we don't know. Will he face jail time? I'm not quite sure. That's a question mark for me. I'm sure as I'll know going forward, though, that the contrast between the two is going to be interesting. Again, we're not voting for Hunter Biden here. We're voting for two people, one who was previously a president and one who's currently a president. So to compare Hunter with Trump is just ridiculous and stupid at this point. But he is a son of a sitting president. So I need people to realize and contrast the two and know and understand how propaganda and political gain and movement works in terms of a chess piece. So again, we're not voting for Hunter Biden here. We're voting for the sitting president, who his child was charged with felony charges today. And last week, previously, we had a previous sitting president who was charged with 34 counts. Let me remind you again, 4 felony charges. He was twice impeached. So there's a difference. So I don't want to hear people doing this whole, blah, 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 Hunter Biden. He has nothing to do. Sure, yes, in some aspects, he has something to do with Biden's presidency. But again, we're not voting for him. We're voting for the city president. And you have the two. So would that be difficult for some people? I'm sure it is. But, before I go on my nigga babble and all that nonsense like how MD would state, I just need people to understand the importance of what's going to be happening going forward. We literally have we're now in June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So we have 5 months to go before we make a decision. This entire country makes a civic duty decision of picking a president. Please choose wisely. I'm hearing people doing the flipping, flopping, back and forth nonsense, which has everything to do with nothing. When you go in that booth, the importance is, how does it affect your money? How does it affect your job? How does it affect your food? How does it affect your gas? How does it affect your family? How does it affect you overall? That's all that matters. Whether you choose to vote for whoever you choose to vote for is on you. You're the one that goes into the booth and make the decision, nobody else. So at the end of the day, I don't want to hear people talk about I'm not going to vote for or who I'm not going to vote for. It's up to you. You have a decision. You have 2 choices to make. We don't have a 3-party system here. We have 2. Make a choice, make a wise one, and move forward. Don't complain afterwards once you make the decision. It's all up on you. Make that choice and vote. And vote for your local interest. I don't care about the national, but vote for your local interest. And from there, you can make a pivot and movement. And that's all I'm going to say.
All right. Thank you, Ricardo. Great point there. Well said. I couldn't have said it any better. I'm looking into the chat here. We got shout out to Jackie McCall. And Jackie says, right here, I know I couldn't walk around here with 34 felony counts against me. They won't let me walk around here with 3 felony counts against me. I will not be walking out that courtroom. Trevor mentioned about asking about the pardon. Well, in the piece it did mention that Biden was not going to give Hunter Biden a pardon. So, I mean, we know the other guy that would give a pardon for sure. Jackie McCall says, my heart hurts for every parent that has a child that's on drugs. I speak from experience. It's awful. As much as I love my son, I'll do anything. I despise all drug dealers. That's a great thing. I mean, that's a very tough position to be in, and Jackie also can see the point of view of what the Bidens is going through right now. One more. Here's Mr. Straight Talk, and he's saying, I think we're missing the big picture here. You have 2 people convicted of felonies that probably won't see any jail time. Meanwhile, Tyrone is doing life for drug trial. I mean, that's a phenomenal point. That's a point that nobody should be missing. It is very infuriating. One of the excuses they're using is, well, they're both first-time offenders or first time being caught with anything, so they're not going to get the book thrown at them. That's the idea behind it. I don't too much buy it. I agree with Mr. Straight Talk on this one. It's very infuriating, especially when you're dealing with Blacks and Latinos. The leniency is just not applied that way. So we're going to continue here on with the consequences culture here. So connected to Donald Trump, of course, his right-hand man, one of the major inspirations to the Muslim ban, Steve Bannon. Well, Steve Bannon is back in the news again as he has his own legal troubles. See, it's just funny how all these Trump guys just can't get that stink off them, and they just have their troubles. Let's take a quick look at Steve Bannon here.
Just a few minutes ago, a federal judge ordered former Trump advisor Steve Bannon to report to prison by July 1st to serve his 4-month prison sentence. Bannon was hoping to stay out of prison as he appealed his conviction for contempt of Congress. CNN's Sarah Murray's following the story from the courthouse. Sarah, tell us how this all went down.
Well, it seemed like a big surprise to Steve Bannon and his attorneys that federal judge Carl Nichols said that Steve Bannon will have to begin serving his sentence. He has to self-surrender by July 1st. Remember, it was July of 2022 that Steve Bannon was found guilty of 2 counts of contempt of Congress by a jury. The judge that year sentenced him to 4 months behind bars, but said he could stay free pending an appeal of his conviction. Well, they discussed that appeal in the hearing today, and the judge said, look, the appeals court wholeheartedly disagreed with the legal arguments that Bannon and his team were making. He said he was not going to put off this sentence any longer, and he said it's time for Steve Bannon to report to prison. And there was a heated moment at the end of this hearing where Steve Bannon's attorney was sort of trying to urge the judge to reconsider. The judge was not very pleased with how that exchange was going, how he was being talked to. Unsurprisingly, Bannon still gave off a defiant air as he left the courthouse today. Take a listen to what he said.
This is about one thing. This is about shutting down the MAGA movement, shutting down grassroots conservatives, shutting down President Trump. Not only are we winning, we are going to prevail, and every number and every poll shows that. There's nothing that can shut me up and nothing that will shut me up.
Now, Bannon is not totally out of options. He could seek emergency relief from the appeals court, from the U.S. Supreme Court, but obviously a very tight time frame for another court to intervene before that July 1st surrender date, Boris.
Yeah, unclear what grounds the Supreme Court would grant him that. Sarah Murray, live outside the courthouse. Thank you so much.
You see outside a federal courthouse here in Washington, that is Steve Bannon with his attorney speaking after a federal judge just ordered Steve Bannon to report to prison on July 1st. Donald Trump's former top advisor was convicted of contempt of Congress in 2022, and his sentence is 4 months in prison, which now, 2 years later, he will begin actually serving.
All right. So Ricardo, what do you think here about Steve Bannon serving a 4-month jail sentence July 1st?
Yeah, to me, the media kind of downplayed this whole thing with Bannon getting that sentence last week, because I think it was the same time that Trump was sentenced, or if not the week before. All I know is it's within the same time frame that he had to report to for his prison sentence, which I was dying of laughter for. It's a long time coming. This crook, just like the other crooks that are in the movement, with Trump's cronies, as I would like to call them, he has done enormous amount of damage. If you want to know how Trump end up doing most of the ridiculous things that he has done, is under the guise of this moron that you see here is under Bannon. He's done a lot of destructive damage for Trump's presidency, including having a abundance of people die during COVID on account of the nonsense and the if you ever want to know, because there's always, the best analogy to use is to use the puppet and the string analogy. Sure, you have the puppet, doing the work, the dirty work for the movement of getting the false information out and all of that, but there's always the person pulling the strings, and Bannon was the one doing that, to the point where, if I'm not mistaken, it was like some people in the inner circle that was like, yo, you need to get rid of this man and kick him out immediately. So he was kicked to the curb, and I guess he wasn't happy about the whole fact that he got kicked out of the inner circle. But a lot of people in the inner circle, meaning Trump's inner circle at the time and during the administration when he was in presidency, didn't like Bannon. In fact, he didn't even get along with Barbie Trump. And if you don't know who Barbie Trump is, that's main princess in charge. That's Ivana. She, if you don't get along with the president's daughter, dude, something's wrong with the picture. So there's a lot of stuff and he's very outlandish. He's really out there. In fact, I think he owned, is it Bart? How do you call that magazine again? Bart Right? I don't even know what it's called.
Breitbart.
Breitbart. And it was so outlandish, so out there, full of, if you want to know white nationalistic brainwashing on overdrive, it would be that nonsense. And it was just ridiculous. But people somehow took a liking and following to it. And for the life of me, I'm not quite sure. But then again, you have the megamaniacs and the nonsensical people that have nothing better to do with their time. And he brainwashed them to the fullest. So there's quite a few things that he has said. If I'm not mistaken, he was the reason why Trump did the whole Obama birthright nonsense. If you remember, Venkat, from the get-go, Obama wasn't born in the U.S. He's born elsewhere. It was his idea. That was all Bannon. And there was I think there's a couple other things that came about, and it was all because of Bannon. And it's just amazing, the plethora of nonsense that people come up with just for the sake of white privilege, white nationalistic point of views, also the foolishness. And mind you, let me remind people again, President Obama is half white. His mother's white and his dad was black. So I don't understand even that. They threw you a bone, Bannon. Like, they gave you a half black, half white president, and it still wasn't good enough for you. Like, you went on a rampage of epic nonsense. But I digress. This is the kind of things that we need to remind people of when it came to the presidency of Trump. Not to say that Biden didn't have his fair share of skeletons in his closet, but my God, if this was the person that you chose to be your advisor behind the scenes, sir, and now he's a crony getting ready to report to jail, and here talking about, oh, he's not going to be going to jail. I hope I see them hauling his old ass into that slammer, and I hope he screw it, I'm gonna say it. I hope you remember not to drop the soap, Bannon, because I'm sure you're gonna get a ramming of your life. But I can move forward.
LA Ram style.
Exactly.
Steve Bannon, man, he's a trip. He's a real trip. MDs are back on the panel. MD, any thoughts on the Steve Bannon July 1st mandate by the judge to report to jail?
I mean, it's funny because can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Loud and
Yep,
clear.
loud and clear. Yep,
Okay, all right.
yep.
Yeah, it's funny because like I said, I got a theory that the likes of people like Steve Bannon and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and Massey, I think they're setting themselves up. Now this again, personal opinion. I think they're setting themselves up for a possible MAGA split when it comes to leadership, right? I'm noticing that Marjorie Taylor Greene is spending a lot of time on Steve Bannon's show. Same with people like Massey. Same with people like Matt Gaetz. Hell, I can even throw uh, Tucker Carlson to some extent in that same grouping. It's going to be interesting to see if Trump gets reelected, what type of position a person like Steve Bannon would have, if one at all. I mean, they've had a I guess you would say a somewhat of a love-hate relationship, especially throughout the 2020. 2020 was a real troubling year as far as like the turbulence between them two.
Yes, it was.
Um, Again, it is what it is. Contempt, so to speak, in terms of why he's being thrown into a job. Ain't nothing gonna happen to Steve Bannon. He's gonna be tucked away in some federal prison, sitting to win to get back. What is it? 4 months?
Yep, close to.
Ain't nothing gonna happen to Steve Bannon. But it's gonna be interesting to see what the narrative is gonna be once he gets out. Um, to me, Steve Bannon is one of the architects of this MAGA culture that we got.
Yes, he is.
Hell, if it was up to me, he wouldn't see the light of day no more. You know what I'm saying? With the rhetoric, his rhetoric was just as important as Trump's was for January 6th. I'm just keeping it real. You know what I'm saying?
That's
It's
true.
weird to me that essentially there is nothing being brought up about any criminal charges regarding the January 6th of Steve Bannon. That's weird. You know what I'm saying? But hey, again, I'm gonna let the justice system play it out. We'll see what happens when he gets out. Well, and when he gets out, it'll be real close to the election.
Yes, it is.
So we'll see what type of position or what role he'll play in regards to the 2024 election, and if and when he would get a position under Trump's cabinet if he's elected. So again,
but,
we'll see.
But do you feel I could have swore he was banned though? MD, the last remember that big old blow up. I think it was just by the ending of COVID was when they literally kicked him out, if not before, just about the time frame right about there. Because the inner circle, when he brought in what was that Army General guy?
Talking about Michael Flynn?
Yes. Remember during that time, those two couldn't get along for the life of it. And then it wasn't until I heard there was an argument between him and Barbie Trump. And, at the time, Barbie was inserting herself like, hey, I'm going to be the next president. I want to be up there. And for whatever, him and her couldn't get along. So like I was saying in my portion of the, the questionnaire there, if you can't get along with the president's own children, there's something wrong with that whole dynamics there. So I don't think it would have lasted that long. So I heard when he got kicked out of the inner circle, he was bitter about it, like hella mad, like, on fuming rage overload, 100%. And if I'm not mistaken, he said that he wouldn't want a position back in Trump's cabinet, but he wished him well. But he was, again, still given advisement behind the scenes saying, oh, if I was Trump, I would do this. If I was Trump, I would do so and so. If I was Trump, I would go after so and so. So I don't know if.
Yeah, you're right. Remember, he was the whole reason behind the whole thing with the immigration statute that Trump originally tried to do, that got shut down by the Supreme, because it was unconstitutional.
Right.
So that's why I said, Bannon his rhetoric is pretty much a mirror image of what Trump said. So it'll be interesting. But go ahead.
No, but that's what I was saying. I think most of the policies, if we were seeing again with the nationalistic white, the white, movement that they were going for. Remember that whole thing with was it in the Carolinas when they were doing the march and all of that? It was basically he set up the whole blueprint of all of that. He was the puppet behind the puppet behind the string of Trump, really pushing Trump to do certain things. So I think it was really a conflict of interest. Again, if I'm not mistaken, Jared Kushner was Jewish. So I don't understand how, and if I'm not mistaken as well, most of Trump's grandchildren are Jewish. So I don't know how this whole white, nationalistic point of view would have worked when he doesn't really like Jewish people. It's weird. It was a weird conundrum that it's still to this very day didn't make any sense to me, but it kind of worked in the sense of the MAGA movement. If we we could give credit where it's due. He's responsible for the whole MAGA movement. He's responsible for the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the crazy, outlandish, nonsensical people that made no sense. We were like, these people will never get elected. Like, Trump was one thing. Lo and behold, they picked these people, and now they're here creating havoc, in front of the camera and behind the camera. Like, he's the main architect behind that, if not doing the most damage. So again, yeah, we should be questioning why we're not talking about January 6th and how he was the catalyst behind it. He's lit the fire march, the match for it. But at the same length of breath, I don't know if they could use him again in the new cabinet because that's a huge question mark that, we have to throw out at the end of the day, and we hope it doesn't come into fruition. But if Trump is elected again, would they pick, or can Bannon be placed back in the cabinet? I just don't see it. I think there's too much conflict of interest there. But desperate times calls for desperate situations, right? So we just never know what the Agent Orange 45 is thinking behind the scenes. So if he's desperate, by all means, he probably might call back Bannon, which might be very detrimental. If you think it for this country, it would be very detrimental to bring him back, and I don't know if we could tolerate that. But
hey man, listen, Project 2025 mandate for leadership. Anybody can come back. Anybody. They will. If Trump got anything to do with it. Well, if the underlying factors got anything to do with it.
We'll see. Let's just hope, fingers crossed it doesn't, but it's crazy.
All right. So we're gonna keep the consequences train going. So Alex Jones, the architect, the founder of InfoWars, the great conspiracy theorist, Alex Jones. He's, over the years, earned his way to having to be put on notice, and now he's facing consequences. Let's take a look at the Alex Jones story here.
Right here in Newtown, Connecticut, the site today of a mass shooting, and this time gunfire aimed at elementary school children. There are 27 victims, 20 children, 7 adults. And we've heard all day about the incredible response by teachers inside the school, which is considered one of the leading schools in the nation. And also tonight, we have a new image of the suspected shooter as we tell you everything we know about who did it, what kind of weapons, and why.
This morning, the Sandy Hook Elementary School was full of kids concerned about Christmas. And then at 9:40 a.m., shots rang out.
All units, the individual that I have on the phone is continuing to hear what he believes to be gunshots.
Inside, little kids are under attack.
We heard all this
racket at our classroom.
Horrible things are happening.
Did you hear any more bad noises?
Yes.
Children are rushed out of the school, single file, hands on shoulders, eyes squeezed shut.
We got in the line and we had to close our eyes.
How did you find your way out with your eyes closed?
We all put our hands on other people's shoulders, and then our teacher held the first person's hand and she let us out.
I'm very scared, worried about my son, worried about the other kids that I know here.
It was terrifying. I'm still terrified. I think I'm still in shock about it all. I still don't know everything that happened.
A situation that couldn't be any more terrifying. Kids at the mercy of a deranged gunman. And yet it keeps getting worse.
Okay, these units in the pool, I got bodies here.
Among the dead, 20-year-old gunman Adam Lanza and his mother, who was a teacher's aide at the elementary school. He came with a bulletproof vest and 4 guns, including 2 semi-automatic handguns and possibly an assault rifle, say authorities. He killed so many of the kids she loved.
It's a very, very difficult scene for the family members, for all the responding first responders. It's a tragedy. It's a tragic scene.
And from first graders in Newtown. First graders. And from every family who never imagined that their loved one would be taken from our lives by a bullet from a gun. Every time I think about those kids, it gets me mad.
You can't ban the iron rods. The guns, the iron rods, Pierce, didn't do it. The tyrants did it. Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns. And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. We will not relinquish them. Do you understand? And that's why you're going to fail, and the establishment knows no matter how much propaganda, the Republic will rise again when you attempt to take our guns.
I don't know exactly what happened. Sandy Hook's inconclusive.
For years, Alex Jones was the most powerful voice behind a disturbing conspiracy theory that the Sandy Hook shooting was a massive hoax.
They've got, in one shot, leaves blowing and flowers that are out, and you see the leaves blowing, and they glitch. They're recycling a green screen behind them.
A theory that Leonard Posner and Veronique De La Rosa say turned their lives upside down. Their 6-year-old son, Noah, was killed during the mass shooting in 2012. Ever since, they say they've been harassed, the abuse so bad they've had to move 7 times. Now, they're suing Jones for defamation. His lawyers are asking the judge to dismiss the case. De La Rosa spoke to CNN about the lawsuit in April.
If there's a choice that's made over a relentless period of years to peddle falsehoods and to profit from them, then there has to be a day of reckoning.
Jones discussed his controversial views with Megyn Kelly last year.
What do you do when they've got the kids going in circles in and out of the building with their hands up? I've watched the footage, and it looks like a drill.
Jones says he now believes Sandy Hook did happen.
Alex Jones' stunning admission came during a contentious cross-examination.
It's 100% real.
Finally conceding the Sandy Hook school shooting did happen. After years of insisting on his InfoWars show, the massacre was a hoax.
How could you believe any of it? It's 100% real, and the media still ran with lies that I was saying it wasn't real.
The parents of Jesse Lewis, one of 20 first graders who died in the massacre, are seeking $150 million in damages.
To restore the honor and the legacy of my son that was tarnished by Mr. Jones.
Jones blasted Jesse's father on his show yesterday.
Let's just say he's a nice man, and it's not an act. He is being manipulated by some very bad people. I mean, I'll just say it because I got to be honest. He's slow, okay? And his ex-wife is not. And I don't think he's stupid. I'm just saying I've got family members that are really smart in a lot of ways, but they're just real kind of quiet and have this way about them, and they move at a different pace. Like they're fast in some ways and slow in others, and he's I mean, I think Heslin acts like somebody on the spectrum.
As for Heslin, he took the stand today. He testified that he lives in fear because of Alex Jones' propaganda.
I can't even describe the last 9.5 years of the living hell that I and others have had to endure because of the negligence and the recklessness of Alex Jones.
Alex Jones spread a conspiracy theory that the Sandy Hook shooting was a hoax and that the dead children were crisis actors. Heslin's son is this boy, Jesse, among the 20 children and 6 school staff murdered in the shooting. His photo displayed, as you see, in the courtroom today. Scarlett Lewis spoke directly to Alex Jones in the courtroom and demanded accountability.
It seems so incredible to me that we have to do this, that we have to implore you, not just implore you, punish you, to get you to stop lying, saying it's a hoax. It happened. It's like surreal what's going on in here.
Both parents said they face death threats and harassment because of the conspiracy theory. They said they do not feel safe because so many people have believed Alex Jones' lies.
The conspiracy theorist has been a difficult witness.
This is not your show.
Admonished yesterday by the judge for lying on the stand.
You're already under oath to tell the truth. You've already violated that oath twice today.
And today he was caught in another lie by the plaintiff's attorney.
Your attorney's messed up and sent me an entire digital copy of your entire cell phone with every text message you've sent for the past 2 years.
Including text messages about Sandy Hook Jones failed to share, as ordered by the court.
And that is how I know you lied to me when you said you didn't have text messages about Sandy Hook. Did you know that?
You're unbelievable. You switch on emotions on and off when you want. It's just ambulance chasing.
Why don't you show a little respect? Objection, Judge. I think that...
Is this a struggle session? Are we in China? I've already said I'm sorry hundreds of times, and I'm done saying I'm sorry. I didn't generate this. I wasn't the first person to say it. American gun owners didn't like being blamed for this, as the left did, so we rejected it mentally and said it must not be true. But I legitimately thought it might have been staged, and I stand by that, and I don't apologize for it.
And don't apologize, Mr. Jones. Please don't apologize.
No, I've already apologized to the parents over and over again.
We know
I don't apologize to you.
Objection.
Don't apologize to you.
You're going to do it again.
Objection, Judge.
We have some breaking news for you tonight as the InfoWars host and known conspiracy theorist Alex Jones has just moved to liquidate his personal assets to pay the families of the victims of the Sandy Hook massacre. Alex Jones owes those families more than $1.5 billion in damages over his repeated lies and claims that the shooting was a hoax.
Can you muster a war cry?
It's a big joke.
It's not really, though. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's also inspiring.
My voice will completely go. It's fine. It's my resistance to them. It's a God's transmission. It's a human under attack. We're going to beat these people. I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but it's been a hard fight. These people hate our children. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the true definition of a snowflake. Talk tough, soft in the middle. So, MD, what do you think about Alex Jones and his conspiracy theories? Cost him over $1 billion.
I mean, if there should be any case of criminal defamation that should result in jail time, it's when you come up with something to say about a certain event, a certain person, a certain group of people that incites the ability to intent in regards to causing harm to somebody else. And that's exactly what Alex Jones has been doing for years, not just this situation, years. If there was any form of criminal defamation, Alex Jones would be the example of it. The bastard don't deserve to be out in civilization. He just don't. You know what I mean? All the stuff that he said over the course of decades, from the FEMA caskets to the false flag stuff to the Black Swan events, all this stuff has caused an entire generation to be caught up in these conspiracy theories. Trust me, I know. I used to do a show with one of them. In regards to what's real and what's fake, there has to be accountability to the utmost. The bastard don't deserve to be heard on any platform. He just don't. In fact, he deserved to be locked up. If there was any case, now I'm all for the First Amendment. Don't you talking to a true American? I'm for it. But when you have such of an uproar in regards to the disinformation, because it ain't misinformation, because he know exactly what he's doing. He's doing it to make money at the end of the day, and he was very good at it for many years. You had dumbasses willing to buy all his products, and so on and so forth. So it's disinformation because he's intently doing it. So when you intentionally rile up conspiracy theories to your base to the point where the people in the Sandy Hook massacre are fearing for their lives based on what you said to a group of sycophants that don't know they left from their right in terms of reality, you should be held accountable for that criminally. Get the money at the end of the day. It is what it is. But he don't deserve to be outside. He just don't. And I just leave it at that. I've been saying this for years.
All right, thanks, MD. Ricardo, what do you think here about Mr. Alex Jones?
That vile piece of disgusting ass. I don't even know how to even elaborate on the amount of visceral I want to spew on this scumbag. If y'all are not aware, because we're so fickle in the way we think these days, and it's been it's been so long, and it wasn't even so long ago, but Sandy Hook, today would be the anniversary of Sandy Hook. If I'm not mistaken, it was 2012. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2012 this incident happened. I remember, was it 2012? I could have sworn.
2012.
Yes. It was an event that not only shook me to the core, it shook countless amount of people to the core, because in all events, you've heard of shootings in schools before. You've heard of shootings in the most random, situations. But when it comes to grade 8 students, talking about students that are in middle school, that to me was like, okay, this has gone to the part where it's now nothing is fathomable at this point. And you heard those poor babies were killed, not even killed, they were slaughtered, shot and in close range. And it was just like, can you imagine trauma? I have an 8-year-old. So imagine, the trauma of seeing, the think and the thought process of what, even though they're older now, because they're about to graduate 2 days' time, some of those victims that you saw. It's crazy that these people will go on these rampage of nonsense talking about conspiracy theories about it didn't happen and all of that. You people are disgusting beyond anything. It's worse than the people that came up with all these nonsense during the 9/11 attacks, saying that the Twin Towers were this and the Twin Towers were that, and there was no airplane, when clearly we saw 2 planes. The first one, if you were able to see the first image of it, went into the tower 1, and the other one that we view multiple times throughout the day, when the second one, which was the United Airlines plane going into the second tower. But yet people come up with the most stupidest things. There was a missile, and there was this, and there was what are you guys doing? When the facts are presented to you, you still won't believe it, and then you try to infiltrate the masses with nonsense and then make them believe the nonsense. These are innocent people who suffered at the hands of, a delusional kid that I think, if I'm not mistaken, was upset that his mom took away something or video game from him or some nonsense and decided to shoot up other kids in the process. These people will never get to see their kids graduate, will never see their kids, get married. They will never see their kids bring forth grandchildren for them. They buried their children early. You had the audacity to say all of that whole nonsense, and you expect in the end, if you saw him turning red and doing the snowflake effect of the most, oh my God, I'm gonna sit here and cry and sit down somewhere, Alex. I hope you become destitute, raggedy poor, like how they had in the 1900s, 1920s, where you're just on the street corner and you, God forgive me and pardon me, you wither away like dust. Because for you to spew all that diatribe of nonsense to these poor, innocent family members, and they should milk you for every cent that you have, every asset you have, everything should be liquidated and should be going towards their purpose, their cause, their contribution. You have no morals or any, I can't even the rage that I have, I can't even spew it. But all I remember is that this tragedy affected me in such a major way, because I thought this would have moved the needle where we would have changed gun laws. It was people like him that caused most of the framework that we were trying to get done to change the gun laws. We couldn't even get them done because he kept spewing these nonsense to the NRA people and a whole bunch of other nonsense. You know what? At the end of the day, you're gonna suffer. God would deal with you if you're a religious person, and for those who are not religious, the atheists out there, whatever, karma would deal with you, Alex Jones. But for you to do what you did throughout these years, you are a scumbag of epic proportion, and I despise you from. And it's very rare that I loathe people, and when I mean loathe, I hate. But I really hate this guy, and I do not feel sorry for him. And the longest shot in any means necessary. If they could even bring him to jail, by all means send him to jail. But I hope you wither like dust, sir. And I hope karma deals with you in the worst wretched way. And I'll leave it at that.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Just think about it. If that was one of our kids that was a victim in that atrocity, and you got this fool telling a group of idiots that it wasn't real, I don't think I would be free amongst the general society today if I was in that situation. I don't
You're
think
right.
so.
I don't think so either. If I had to put myself in their shoes, I don't think I would. I hate to say it, I would be the worst of worst right now. He's lucky to be alive. I really do think he's lucky.
That's what I'm saying. He real lucky.
He's
Real
really
lucky.
because
I don't think I could do it.
I couldn't do it either. And that's saying a lot. I couldn't do it either. I don't know how we got away scot-free with that. And for you to allow people to go through hate of having to move multiple times because of deranged people trying to kill them on account of gun laws and all of that, sir, you really a piece of work. Really a piece of work. And then you want to sit there and cry victim like a snowflake, talk about I'm going to scream on top of my lungs. Go sit, have multiple seats somewhere, because nobody feels sorry for you. And if anybody feels sorry for you, you're deserving of anything that's coming to you karma wise too, because this ain't it. This is not it. That it just wasn't it. If you remember the day it was such a solemn, sad day in Connecticut when those poor parents dropped off those kids with the intention of seeing them, picking them in the afternoon, and they weren't even allowed that privilege. They probably were, it took them days to probably, receive back their tragic ones that died. It's unfathomable the things that he spoke about. This was just the tip of the iceberg, but he said way more outlandish stuff than that. All I remember was like, who is this guy? And it just, for years, it just kept snowballing over and over again. He just kept saying stuff. And I'm surprised they were able to get him now finally to liquidate. But my God, man, like really? This is just it. My word. I can't even say it. Like, I'm so enraged just even thinking about what he did. But, you know, this is the consequence of people who come up with conspiracy theories. And when you megamaniacs out there come up with a whole bunch of stuff, this is one of the reasons why I can't fall for it. It's almost on the verge of, remember when MD, that guy in Grenada, did what was his name? Was it Jim? It wasn't Jim Jones. That made the people drink that cyanide thing and they all died.
That was Jim Jones.
Jim Jones, right? It's borderline.
Guyana, yeah.
That's how crazy y'all conspiracy theorists people are. Like, it's that nuts. Y'all worse than the Hale-Bot people that killed themselves also in 1998. Like, it's crazy the things that you guys come up with. But thank God there's people like me and MD and Venkat and others out there that knows when we hear, you know, delusional stuff and babble come about, we dismiss it immediately because that week.
If Donald Trump does not win, what do you do?
I hope that I'm going to die.
You want to die if Donald Trump doesn't win?
I don't want to live like this anymore. You like our country the way it is now?
Crap like that.
And lo and behold, who's the rumor saying that who's going to take over Steve Bannon's show when he in jail? Alex Jones.
What? Man, he need to be in jail for real, man. He shouldn't be free. I don't know, man. That's just incredible that he could still be walking around. And does he even have the $1 billion that he needs to pay these people?
Of course
Hell
not.
No. All his assets is in this pseudo medicine that he try to sell and the fake water. That's where all his money is at.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Even that little BS studio we got, that ain't worth a damn. That ain't worth a damn.
Oh man. So I mean, maybe his show. I don't know if that show can generate any kind of real money, but I don't even know how people are watching that. I mean, that's just crazy. I never understood that. But he made a calculated decision that doing this highly explosive kind of commentary and saying what nut job people on the right, the nut wing, because not all Republicans are nutty like this, what they would be into, he made that decision that he could lean into that, garner the success of the money he's going to generate, and that will outweigh the problems that will follow it. He kind of made a bad decision. Fox News themselves made that decision, talking about the election being rigged and stolen. And you saw what happened. That company went ahead and sued them for millions upon millions of dollars. I mean, all these big things are happening. It's all after 2020, by the way. All these lies are just crumbling and falling. November is not far away. November is not far away.
And bet you any money before we. He's going to probably end up on Dancing with the Stars, just like Spicer. Is that his name? Spicer was when nothing else fails or works for them, they end up on some nonsense like Dancing with the Stars or some crap. Just like Tucker Carlson, y'all believe it or not, he was also on Dancing with the Stars, and he never made it, and that's why you end up seeing the actual Tucker Carlson that we're seeing now, because he wanted to be a celebrity. It didn't work out for him. So
but that was that was when Tucker Carlson was viewed as like the next big thing on Fox News after Bill O'Reilly. You know what I'm saying? Right. Tucker Carlson again. That's another person. Pre-Trump, Tucker Carlson wasn't like this at all.
100%. None of them were like this. None of them.
Post 9/11, I used to love Fox News. Loved it. I could tell you what the lineup was. Your World, Neil Cavuto, Greta Van Susteren, Hannity and Combs, Bill O'Reilly, Sean Man, I used to watch Fox News religiously. Now, all of a sudden, like Trump come on the scene, everybody go crazy. Everybody.
All right. So we're going to keep the consequences rolling. We're talking accountability. We're talking consequences. But when it comes to cops, who keeps them accountable?
I certainly regret that. And I really deeply, I hurt for what they went through.
That is an apology from the police chief of Goodlettsville to innocent people arrested by his police department.
A WSMV4 investigation uncovered multiple DUI arrests dismissed from arrests, all made by one officer in Goodlettsville.
So it's the latest discovery by Chief Investigative Reporter Jeremy Finley into how you can be sober and still get a DUI.
Performing a field sobriety test is not what Jeff Adams expected last September as he was heading to his job as a teacher in Brentwood.
I figured I could pass it because, I wasn't drinking. I was on my way to school. It was 5:52 a.m.
Video recorded by an officer shows Adams didn't do well standing on one leg. Still, Adams couldn't believe what happened next. Listen.
Sir, I have not drank a thing. I don't drink. I don't smoke, I don't do drugs.
And Adams wasn't lying. 4 months later, his blood test results show no alcohol, no drugs. But the arresting officer, Noah Warner, wrote he showed several signs of impairment.
I don't think you're safe to operate a motor vehicle.
Can I call my school to let them know that I need a substitute?
The case against Adams was ultimately dismissed. The damage, though, was already done.
It was the most traumatic experience to know that I'm being arrested. I'm about to be fingerprinted, mugshotted. All the man's got is his reputation and his name. And it's getting smeared, and I didn't appreciate it.
Chokes you up a little bit.
It does.
And a WSMV4 investigation found this isn't the only DUI arrest made by Officer Werner that was dismissed. Turns out Adams is the third sober driver to be arrested by Werner for a DUI last year.
There's a problem. There's a pattern, is what this is.
I certainly regret that, and I really deeply, I hurt for what they went through.
Chief Gary Goodwin is Werner's boss at Goodlettsville Police.
If you had just one case, that would be one thing. But in this officer's case, you have 3 people who were sober and arrested for DUI. So what does that tell you?
It doesn't necessarily tell me anything. Obviously, it's concerning. You hate it for these 3 people.
Goodwin admits he's frustrated by the situation. Look at the reports. All 3 drivers, including Adams, showed multiple signs of impairment. In one case, a driver had a half-empty beer can in the driver's side door, but they were all found to be sober.
I'm looking at them and I'm saying, I'm not sure how I fix this.
And an ongoing WSMV4 investigation shows it's not just Goodlettsville. Police are arresting sober people for DUIs all over the mid-state. And because of a backlog at the TBI for alcohol and toxicology reports, we found some innocent drivers are waiting 8 months to get results back. And in many times, sober drivers are asking for breathalyzers. Listen. But they didn't. You can see in the video, Adams was taken to get a blood draw instead. After that, he was taken to jail.
Why not use a breathalyzer each time? That would at least tell you if that person had been drinking alcohol.
So many people that we see now, they're under the influence, but it's not necessarily alcohol.
And a blood test, which takes longer to get back, is the only way to know for sure.
I just put myself in their position, and how would I feel if this happened to me?
The city of Commerce has fired an officer after he repeatedly charged innocent drivers with being drunk or on drugs.
This comes after an I-team investigation questioned why one DUI arrest happened, even though a nearly dozen breath tests showed 0 signs of alcohol.
I got you not being able to maintain your lane. All right. And my field sobriety is showing me you're impaired.
Do you think this Commerce man is on drugs?
Have you smoked anything?
No.
What about this Athens woman?
They say that I've been drinking and on drugs.
If you guess they're both sober, your judgment is better than a cop supposedly trained to spot drunk drivers.
With you not being able to maintain lane, I feel you are impaired. So I am going to arrest you.
Blood tests eventually proved they had no drugs in their systems and their charges were dismissed. But that was months after Commerce police officer Cody Wood started them down a road of humiliation. He's now been fired.
He locked me up in front of my child. And I wasn't under influence of anything. But
Shaquila Usher, Logan Phillips, and Christian Exxon are 3 of the dozen others whose DUI drug cases were also dismissed earlier this month.
Instead of giving him a ticket for the taillight, he got a ticket and went to jail for something he didn't do.
Logan and Christian say Wood never took them for a blood test. Shaquila's results were not back by the time she went to court.
He asked me if I was taking anything. I said, no. Why would I said, no. Sir, why would I be taking anything? He was like, well, your eyes dilated. I'm like, how?
How do you prove you're not under the influence of narcotics?
You can't.
All the dismissed cases involve Officer Wood. In his reports, he wrote that the driver failed various field sobriety tests, the walk and turn, the one-leg stand, the horizontal gaze.
So you're saying you don't do drugs? No, sir. All right, sir. I'm getting the nystagmus in your eyes, and then you didn't pass either one of the walk and turn.
The officer has to make a determination. Obviously, he's trying to do, he or her trying to make the best decision and make sure that people aren't driving on the roadways impaired.
Mike Blute teaches DUI enforcement for all Georgia police officers. Wood took his advanced class last September. We asked Blute to review some of his former students' bad DUI arrests, including one where he still arrested someone after blowing 0 on 10 different breath alcohol tests.
I don't know if I'd use the word disappointed, but alarmed maybe. I don't know what the proper word is on this one.
He couldn't tell from the videos whether the drivers actually failed the eye tests, as Wood claimed, a key finding for impairment. Blute says what he did not see is a road cop, but a police department clearly in need of more training.
Everyone I used to go to school with is going to think I actually did this, that I really had a DUI and was that dumb.
Then there's the evidence against Kenyon Rollins, who's still waiting for his case to go to court.
You look like you got something green up your nose. He said, I'm about to charge you with under influence of drugs.
Because of what you had up your nose?
Yeah. It was nothing up my nose, period. But I was thinking, well, I mean, what just happened? How could he do this? And, you know.
Well, in a statement announcing his termination, the City of Commerce said some of Wood's arrests were, quote, made in error, and he failed to, quote, adhere to supervisor direction.
All right. So there we have it. The police doing yet another questionable thing out here in the streets. MD, have you heard of this? Have you ever come in contact or heard anyone else dealing with this type of an issue?
Hell, I've dealt with the issue before. A couple of years ago, I was pulled over under the suspicion of driving under influence. Field sobriety tests are stupid. I'm telling you that straight up. Never will I go off of what an officer thinks that I'm. I say, hey, I want a breathalyzer test. He said he didn't have a breath. How a cop don't got a breathalyzer gun, I don't know. I told him to kiss my ass. I'll wait till he gets somebody out here with a breathalyzer test. Don't ever take a field sobriety test. Don't do it. It's a setup. It's a setup. You don't go off the judgment of a cop. You just don't do it in any situation. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you know, we talk about defund the police, right? That's the wrong thing to say. Actually, the police need more funding because they need to stop being revenue generators. That's what all of this is about. We shouldn't be relying on the city, the county, whatever the situation may be, the police department to generate revenue for that said county or city. That's stupid. That's not what they're there for. You here in Georgia, in a lot of the counties, the counties that I live in, they go off what they call a point system, where they get certain amount of points for whatever they do on that shift. You know what I mean? And of course, you know, the bigger the arrest, the more points you get. You know what I'm saying? That's how they go out. The tenure system is not a yearly thing. It's based on action. Of course, you got yearly factored into it. But if you get so many arrests, you know, you can jump the line pretty much in terms of your tenure there at that department. Stupid. So of course you're gonna have police officers that try to take advantage of the situation and cheat. And that's exactly what this situation is. I'm telling y'all, if y'all get pulled over and they suspect you of driving drunk, tell them you want a breathalyzer. If they say they ain't got it or wait, tell them to kiss your ass, let up your window, and you'll wait for a sergeant. That's just what it is. If they arrest you, more money will be in your bank after you sue them. Point blank, period. And that's just what it is. And that's all I got to say.
All right, thanks, MD. Ricardo, have you seen this before? This I had no idea that they were doing this.
No, I'm actually quite taken back by the piece that I just viewed. I've heard people go through this, but I've never seen it myself in action. Not many people are, inclined or smart like how MD would, so delicately put it, because most of the times when you get pulled over by cops, the first instinct is to panic. I'm not quite sure why that is. I'm not that type of person. Like, I've had moments where police will be turning on their sirens because I'm speeding, and I'm looking at them like, why are you turning on your siren? Like, I'm not intimidated by you. And they will just, leave the siren on, or they just continue driving about their way. Listen, we have to get out of this notion of being terrified by police. I think that's the first thing we need to, as a society, learn to do. I think for the longest time, it used to be where, the police were looked at like, respected and whatnot. But now it's like going through the incidents that we've seen, prior to COVID and leading into COVID, and that affected this community the most. I think there's become this tensive thing where, the police are looked at as fearful. So when it comes to like them pulling you over for anything, and like MD mentioned, ask for a breathalyzer, or if you don't feel inclined to speak, don't say anything. I don't understand why people always be doing the most when police do them. And that's not to say that you don't pull out your cell phone, because we're in the age of smartphones now. So a smartphone can record your conversation. It can do countless things. You don't have to make it so obvious, but some people be doing the most. So, when it comes to like the whole issue that we're seeing here in the piece, I say, just be vigilant. When it comes to anything that entails law enforcement, I mean, you can't. I say I trust. Is anyone on the panel here trustworthy of the law enforcements now? When it comes to any county or anywhere that you live, I'll probably tell you no. I'm not that trustworthy. I don't think there's a slither of, hope. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm trying to do a survey on the panel. Do you feel trustworthy of law enforcement, MD or Venkat? Like, I don't know.
No.
Right. So I mean, and that's the sad reality and point that I'm trying to make. Like, it never used to be like that, but now it's like the smallest things. If they pull you over, they could throw in like, "Oh, you smoke marijuana." I've dabbled in marijuana in my earlier stages in life. Am I a smoker now? No, I don't know. Like, they will come up with trumped up charges and, will hit you left, right, and center. But like MD mentioned, you got to be smart. Just like the guy that got killed, in his apartment, and you didn't have to open your door. I mean, there's certain things that you can do, at the end of the day. But I think it comes down to education. Are we really that educated about enforcement? I don't think so. I think most of the things that we learn is either through the news or through, I hate to say it, movies. I mean, there's nothing really that tells us, hey, when you're pulled over by a police officer, this is the do's and don'ts that you don't do. These are certain things that you don't do. There's certain things you don't say. You say, can I get, I won't speak until, my lawyer's present, or, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that we need to be taught community-wise to curtail certain things. But again, law enforcement does their thing, and they're put on a pedestal. And, yes, MD, this I think it was the stupidest thing to come up from the Democratic side, defunding the police is not the word. What we need to state is we need to educate or realign the police or law enforcement offices, because it's such a negative connotation when it came out. If you remember, it was in the height of COVID, and it just sounds like they were trying to get rid of the police, and this is what you guys do. If you get rid of the police, then who's going to come into the neighborhoods and blah blah. And it wasn't about that. What we were trying to state or trying to articulate was, maybe there needs to be a way that the police or law enforcement could change the way they interact with regular civilians. I just think it's just a very negative connotation when you see a police officer, and not for nothing, I know plenty law enforcement officers, the people that are like family members or friends, but can you imagine what they feel? And not to say that they don't go through a heightened amount of stressful situations, but the majority takes over the minority, where it's like the majority does things go way beyond that they're supposed to be doing. Like, you shoot in excess and you do certain things in excess, or like there's certain things that you can't fathom why they'd be doing them, but absolute power corrupts, absolutely, and they're put on a pedestal. So like echoing my twin, Sir Others, aka Papa XO, aka Sir Yum Yums, wherever you are, sir, because you're not on the panel tonight, which is a damn shame, would say, maybe we need to take away their pensions when they do anything wrong now, because when you're a police officer, I feel like you get away with murder, and they think because of the powerful unions that they have. But what if you give like some reason for them to behave themselves now, like take away their pensions when they do things outlandish? Maybe that might curtail certain things. I don't know. It's a start, but they really are placed on a pedestal. And for the likes of me, I don't know why.
Well, Ricardo, I got a question, real quick.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point? What's the point of doing all that when the county or the city is relying on the police department to generate revenue?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it's just like now that school is out of session, you're going to see a lot of people being ticketed for speeding for no apparent reason because it generates money, right? So where is there another means that the county and the state could get money from, money wise? I don't know. Of course there is.
It needs to come from the federal government.
And that's the other issue.
And they need to trickle down to the state, then from the state to the county.
But why?
That's what it is. That's why I said, if you ask me, the police department need more funding. That way they wouldn't have to rely on quotas.
But that's the thing though, MD. Most people think that they're already fully funded. So is it that
that's a lie? That's a lie.
But that's what I'm saying. Maybe they need to be transparent in terms of the budget that certain departments are not showcasing to the general public. Maybe that's maybe where the misunderstanding is coming into play here. Because if you ask me, if you ask anybody else, they will probably tell you, "Oh, I think the police officers are getting tens of millions of dollars and whatnot." But based on what you're saying, that's not true. But so maybe there needs to be some kind of way that the police department can say, "Hey, this is what we're getting budget wise. We're not getting enough support." And I think this was the same thing that you're echoing is the same thing I heard when Obama did the roundtable when George Floyd died, and he had a roundtable. I'm not sure if you remember. It was on ABC, I think, and they were saying the same thing. Like, listen, we're out there, and not for nothing, we're really like struggling because we're in major metropolitan cities, and for the most part, it's us by ourselves. It's not even like we're getting the support that we need, psychological and self-care wise, and all of that. Where's the help from the federal government? And I don't remember what Obama said, but he said some ambiguous, going around in circle thing where he didn't really answer the question. And I think he said, if it was left up to me as the president, I would do it. But I have to go to Congress. I have to go to the Senate. I have to ask these people that are in power to then vote for it. And then in turn, I will do it. So I think it comes down from even the president's hands. He could, do something about it, either veto or something. But then we're going to still get the same after effects, MD, of why are we giving them more money when they're not even helping the general public? We still have this.
Well, that's a political education thing that need to happen. I'll say this, and I tell you who it ain't gonna come from. It ain't gonna come from Trump, because he want to bypass. He want to bypass police altogether and bring in the National Guard to get you Negroes right. So it ain't gonna come from him. Another thing, I think I mentioned this before. In Atlanta, in the city of Atlanta, when the guy got killed at Wendy's, our police chief resigned. She then went to Louisville, Kentucky, and became their police chief during the Breonna Taylor situation.
Oh yes,
She had a billboard in downtown Atlanta saying, "Come work for the Louisville Police Department." So it's not only an issue with funding the police; it's an issue with police itself. We ain't got enough. That's just what it is.
I think
So on top of not having enough staff, not having enough funding, that gives you the situation that we face, especially in a lot of our black communities.
But like you said, MD, it comes down to it's probably the miseducation there. I think there's so much that goes into this, and I echo there probably needs to be a complete restructuring of general public is seen and what we're being fed in terms of knowledge wise, and then how the presentation from the enforcement side needs to then kind of curtail that, because I don't think it's going to change if it heads down the trajectory that we're seeing. I mean, I've seen instances here in Florida where basically an innocent man who looks after an autistic child is saying, hey, this child is like, is autistic and whatnot. And I'm trying to calm this child down. You know what they did? They end up shooting the guy because they're like, oh, well, by accident, they claim. By saying, oh, well, my gun accidentally went off. How does it accidentally go off when he clearly was telling you for the past hour, I'm trying to restrain the child, he's autistic? You end up still shooting the guy for no reason. Why? Like, there's certain things that they do.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think I might have to pull it up and show it, but at some point I'm going to bring it up.
And that was in Florida too, right?
Yeah, it was in Florida where this guy.
That dude was about 7 foot tall. That autistic boy, he was big as hell, and the dude had his hands up for like 5 minutes. Say, hey, look, and they still shot him.
And they still shot him. So there's a lot of education from both ends, from both sides, that needs to be emphasized. Like, maybe that will curtail what we're being viewed as. Hey, the cops don't need the money. We should just put it towards, making the put it in resources where the police could help people who are under stress or duress that are autistic or mentally ill or whatnot. On the other hand, people are saying, no, put it in the hands of the police officers that really need the mental help, where, they're stressed out being in certain areas where it's like really crime led and whatnot. So there's certain parts of this that it comes down to the education, but it comes down to education from both ends. It can't be just from one and the other. And the federal government, and even though MD doesn't like the government, again, interjecting in certain things, but the federal government needs to do their part in terms of that and trickle it downward so that locals get the help. Because if the federal government is not doing their job, then we're going to get the army and the rest of them that Trump wants. And that's not what we need right now. That's almost playing into the hands of the movies where, God forbid something happens, that's the first go-to is the army reserves and all of them. That's the police, law enforcement's job. But I digress.
Like I said, man, I get your point. It's unrealistic for me to think that every cop out here is gonna know every single statute, every single state code. Like, we ain't gonna have a whole bunch of RoboCops out here. Like, OCP ain't coming to town to make the city safe. It ain't happening.
But don't wish that upon yourself, MD. Remember, we're heading into the age of AI, right? So RoboCops are along.
Hey,
now.
your move, Creep.
Stop, or it will be trouble.
It's based on what Elon Musk is saying about with what Apple announced today. He's not liking what he's seen in terms of AI. So just be mindful, guys, because we're in that age now. RoboCop is not too far away. We've seen those dogs, those what you call them now, because there's dogs out there now that are being put from the new, I think it's the New York Police Department, where they're like electronic dogs. So it's coming.
Yep.
It's in the pipeline. So yeah.
T101. All right. So we're gonna continue head on now. So when we talk about accountability, when we talk about consequences, we got Donald Trump, and as a fallout from last week's historic 34 count felony that he received, He's going to be sentenced on July 11th. Let's catch up with a report on Donald J. Trump.
Earlier today, former President Donald Trump had an interview with a New York probation officer. That's required by all convicted felons. Now that officer will write up a report to the judge who will then sentence Trump. ABC's Aaron Katersky with more.
Tonight, former President Donald Trump taking his next step as a convicted criminal, meeting for the first time with a probation officer before he's sentenced next month. The purpose of this meeting, which was conducted remotely, Trump at his Mar-a-Lago estate, is to help the officer prepare a report with a sentencing recommendation for Judge Juan Merchan. Trump was found guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records to cover up a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels. He has attacked the verdict and the judge over and over.
I just went through a rigged trial in New York with a highly conflicted, and I mean highly conflicted, judge, where there was no crime. It was made up, fabricated stuff.
No word on what Trump told the probation officer today, but her report to the judge must include Trump's own description of his crime, whether he accepts responsibility, and anything he wants to say about why he did it. Unlike most convicts, Trump was allowed to have an attorney with him for today's interview, which is generally intended to provide the judge with a more rounded picture of the person about to be sentenced, including their personal, financial, and professional history. We're told this interview lasted just under a half hour. Judge Merchan already knows so much about Donald Trump, whom he will sentence July 11th, 1 month from tomorrow.
All right, there go that piece on Pookie Donald Trump. That's going to be his jail name, Pookie. So Donald Trump recently had a rally, and I believe it was Nevada. The temperature was about 110 degrees outside. But Donald Trump always has something important to say, I guess. So let's take a look at some of the highlights from this rally that Donald Trump recently had. And we're going to take a look at it in the next installment of As the MAGA Turns.
I know this is awkward for you, Allie, but it doesn't change the way I feel. Please come back to the yacht with me.
As the MAGA turns.
Turns to shit, okay? It's true. It's true. Look at what's happening.
New CBS polling finds that President Biden and former President Donald Trump are virtually tied nationally and in battleground states. This comes as Trump returned fully to the campaign trail for the first time since his New York felony conviction. He held a rally in Las Vegas over the weekend. Part of his strategy out west is to win more voters in traditionally blue states. And he also unveiled a new policy that he plans to enact if elected.
So this is the first time I've said this, and for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips. By the way, isn't that breeze nice? Do you feel the breeze? Because I don't want anybody going on me. We need every voter. I don't care about you. I just want your vote. I don't care. See, now the press will take that and they'll say he said a horrible thing.
Did you hear what Donald Trump just said right there? He said, I don't care about you. I just want your vote. That was Donald Trump's speech in Las Vegas. It was about 110 degrees, a disastrous speech where Donald Trump continued to basically ridicule the crowd there. Let me just play you that clip one more time so you can process what he just said. And there are more clips like that where Donald Trump says things about the crowd like that. Here, play this clip.
By the way, isn't that breeze nice? Do you feel the breeze? Because I don't want anybody going on me. We need every voter. I don't care about you. I just want your vote. I don't care. See, now the press will take that and they'll say he said a horrible thing.
Then Donald Trump says, look, I hear a lot of media reports that people are concerned about your health.
We don't have enough time. And now, by the way, it's 110, but it doesn't feel it to me, right? So we'll stay out here for a little while. If anybody gets tired, you'll let me know. And if anybody goes down, if you start going down, we have people, they'll pick you up right away. They'll throw water. You know, they were so worried. Everybody was so worried yesterday about you. And they never mentioned me. I'm up here sweating like a dog. Secret Service said, we have to make sure everyone's safe. I said, what about me? Oh, we never thought of that. They don't think about me. I'm working my ass off. I'm working hard. Tell them to make the microphone louder. It's terrible. Yeah. He just came up. Are the teleprompters not working? So not even a little bit. Great job. And then I don't pay the company that does it, right? And then I end up with a story Trump doesn't pay. I don't pay contractors that do a shitty job. And that's a shitty job. That's a shitty job. You can't read a word. But you know what? It usually ends up that the speech is better. It's crazy. Then they'll say, oh, isn't it terrible? Trump takes advantage of his No, I take great. When I have a good contractor or a subcontractor, nobody gets paid faster. But when I have contractors that do this kind of work, you can have them. By the way, just in case you're wondering, I got no teleprompters, and I haven't from the beginning. These people. That probably means we'll make a better speech. No, I got no teleprompter. You know, I pay all this money to teleprompter people, and I'd say 20% of the time they don't work. They don't work. The thing's waving around. They can't tie it a little bit tighter. I'm trying to look at. So we're all in this together, everybody.
Then we reach the Jim Jones phase of the Trump speech, where he tells his audience that they'd rather unalive themselves than vote for President Biden. Play this clip.
Wouldn't it be incredible? He's gone to 250 if he voted for Biden. He's going to vote for Biden. I don't think so. I think it would be suicide before Biden, right?
Donald Trump then glitches. Play the clip.
And no third. I'll tell you what. I said, I don't want to get off like that. I did nothing wrong. It's Presidential Records Act. I did nothing. You know, we have a deranged individual named Jack Smith. He's a deranged, a dumb guy. He's a dumb son of a bitch. And we're going to let this happen with our country anymore. We're taking back our country. So when we get in, it's going to go very rapidly. We're going to do a lot of things. We're going to look very strongly at J6. Those people, there has never been people treated more horrifically than J6 hostages.
Donald Trump doesn't know how to say the word Hispanics. Play the clip.
War on the workers of America, especially African Americans and Hispanic Americans and African Americans are the ones suffering most with this incredible illegal alien group that's coming in. And I went to a boat company in South Carolina. The boat, I said, how is it? He said, it's a problem, sir. They want us to make all electric boats. So I said, let me ask you a question. And he said, nobody ever asked this question. And it must be because of MIT, my relationship to MIT. Very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too. A lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, you know, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark. So we're going to end that. We're going to end it for boats.
It is. And that moment, that's sort of one example in a larger point. We could talk about all the lies. He does it enough, and he does it for so long and so consistently that people sort of get numb to it. There he goes again. But we say all the time on this show, for example, when that Wall Street Journal piece came out, you could take any one rally, and this is maybe the best example of it. As you say, Joe, it was 102 degrees. Those people are standing in the heat. He said, by the way, we'll get to this quote, I don't care about you, literally talking to his supporters, his voters. I just want your vote, suggesting, yeah, it's hot out here, but I'm the one who's suffering. I don't care about you. More on that in a moment. But he goes on this story about batteries and sharks, and he makes that tie because of my tie to MIT. His uncle. Oh, my God. His uncle worked at MIT in the 1940s. Oh, my God. He just can't. He feels there's something about MIT. He knows that's prestigious. He knows it sounds like he's smart. It was his uncle 80 years ago. All that. You could. His uncle. My God. Like so what a loon. That was just the latest and perhaps one of the most extreme examples of something that happens. Again, we say it all the time here. You can watch or not. Maybe you don't want to watch his rallies or not. It happens every time he steps on a stage.
Remember we showed you this video where he walks outside and he waves to nothing? Play this clip.
See you later.
Okay. Donald Trump had a eventful time on the campaign trail. Ricardo, what did you think of Trump's performance?
Nothing that we haven't really not seen from the past 4 years, but my gosh, this man speaks like I don't know if it's me or for someone that has done business ventures and claim he's the greatest thing to the rock that is placed on this earth from billions of years ago. He speaks like he has no intelligence. I don't know if it's me, but he sounds like he slanders when he speaks. I don't know what it is. Like I've come across a lot of business people in my lifetime and they don't speak like how he speaks, but I guess that's how it's like a New York thing, I guess. And some people might say, how dare you even go into that territory? But I don't know. Like Trump for me, and I don't understand how people actually listen to him and his diatribe. Again, he is so self-centered and full of himself. The first thing he says was, what about me? Like nobody, it's like, what do you guys complain about? It's all about me here. I'm the one that's standing up here speaking to all of y'all. Mind you, it's 102 degrees Fahrenheit. So if I'm not mistaken, 102 degrees Fahrenheit, because I use the Celsius more, that would be probably like close to 40 degrees Celsius. So you mean to tell me you're going to sit up there and go and MAGA babble all throughout that time for probably going into 2 hours. And you're going to state that the people that came to support you are not important. If you were really someone that really cared, Mr. Trump, like you really cared when you went to Puerto Rico during that hurricane and threw out the paper towels, like it was something that was God's given greatest gift that you could give to those people. Mind you, the people wanted food. You threw out paper towel. You could have issued or given out bottles of water since you're a billionaire and you care so much about your mega maniacs or MAGA maniacs, as I like to call them, to be a caring person. But no, you're so self-centered. It's like, why are you guys talking about you? Let's talk about me. I'm important. I'm the one. I need your votes. I don't care about none of y'all. I care about me. Let's vote for me, and I'll forget about y'all when I win. It's like, if you want that kind of person, again, by all means, go ahead and vote for him. Because for the like of me, nothing he says makes sense. I will not forget this man told us during COVID to drink bleach. I will not forget that this man did a Sharpie when clearly the projection of a hurricane was going the opposite direction, he said it's going here, because he's one of the smartest people who did meteorology, and he knows everything. And then he doubled down the next day when everybody made fun of him and was like, sir, you clearly are not stating accurate facts here. No. He made the meteorologist came out and literally state, oh yeah, it's possible the hurricane could go that direction, but really and truly it's going this way. What are we doing? Like, and oh, my favorite one of all of them. Why don't we throw a nuclear bomb in a hurricane? Wouldn't that help stop the storm? Sir, you're MD. I know he's smart. Don't get me wrong. For all it's worth, I'm not saying he's not a smart person, but he really is dumb. He really is one of them dunce people that will say the most outlandish, stupidest things and think he's smart. No, sir, you're not that smart. Growth spurts, we have not forgotten that you also decided not to serve your country because you have growth spurts. Lest we forget you're the same president that said Obama was not a president from this country because his birth certificate could not be found, even though you have to present your birth certificate when you're running for presidency. Remember, there's a whole list of plethora of things I can remember that Trump did during his term. And last but not least, went golfing when multiple people were dying of COVID-related issues, and you didn't want to make yourself accountable and state the obvious facts, and made everybody else be your stooge and go out there and took all the blame and the brunt of the despicable diatribe the healthcare workers had to go through, where they were blamed for everything, if almost threatened for their lives, even though they're putting themselves in the front line. Sir, you never take accountability for things that you do. And it's just sad to see that people are willing to give him another chance. So again, I implore everyone, because I hate talking about Agent Orange 5, because that's exactly what he is. By all means, please vote. But when you vote, think about what you're voting for. Please think about the best interests of yourself, your family, your car. Lest we forget, he changed the tax code during COVID, which I'm still pissed about to this very day, because I'm getting a little back into my pocket. But I digress, because remember, he did give out, what was it, COVID money? He gave out some kind of check.
$600 is all he gave.
What it was, $1,000. And mind you, when he gave out the check, he put something on the back of it, which was like a disclaimer: I'm the greatest president in the world. I was the one that gave the check. If you all remember all this nonsense that he did, but I digress, because this is who y'all want to go for president. Say whatever you about, Biden. He's not. I'm sure he has multiple skeletons in his closet. By all means, every one of them do, because they're politicians. But my God, at least we know that Biden say marquee and say things that are stupid or say whatever. At least he owns up at the end of the day when they call him out for the bullcrap that he does. This one that you all want, championing the cause for, that the Simpsons predicted was going to win, he would not in a million years take accountability for what it's worth. And again, he's twice impeached, 34 felony charged. So by all means, go say whatever you want to say about Biden. He's never been charged for any goddamn thing that you could think of. But this one was in multitude of sexual assaults and was friends with multiple sexual assailant people and crooked people that work with him. But by all means, he's a saint, right? So by all means, go for it, because y'all are the smartest people in the world. I can't even do it. With a MD, go ahead.
All right, MD. What do you think here about Trump's Las Vegas rallies?
Hey, Venkat, why do you keep choosing to take clips from Being Myself and Midas Touch Network?
Why do you say that?
I can't.
I grabbed the clips that has the right coverage of it. So sometimes other places might cut off a certain point. I have that happen all the time. So then he just happened to have the clip I need.
Being Myself is one of the worst people on YouTube. But hey, it is what it is. I understand. Like I said, I like a few of his shows. Like I like Michael Popeye. He's pretty good. Ben Marcellus, I can't stand him because he literally does the same thing that the right does in terms of how they. But hey, whole nother story. I'm not even gonna get into that. But anyway, it's sad that again. Well, let me start off like this. If you've heard one MAGA Maniac Trump rally, you heard them all. This one was quite different though, because again, it was said that the teleprompters didn't work. So he couldn't go on his usual spiel. He had to start MAGA battling. Because that's what he was doing. He was MAGA battling. Especially with the boat story. I don't even understand like what that was about. your whole point was to try to put focus on the reason why we shouldn't have electrical vehicles of any sort.
Then it turned into a
but then you turn around and say you'd rather get electrocuted by said electric vehicle than to jump. Like what the hell was that?
And that part didn't make any sense to me because I'm like, why would you not? You would rather be electrocuted.
And by the way, I don't think that's how electrical batteries work. But hey, it is what it is. Especially in the middle of the ocean. But hey, who am I? You know what I'm saying? But in any event,
oh my god,
it's sad to see people just listening to this rhetoric and thinking that it's coherent. You know what I'm saying? Where are the policies at? How you gonna implement that? What are the figures that you're trying to put forth? I don't hear none of this stuff ever from Trump. Yet the MAGA Maniac want to tell me that somehow his policies are better than what Biden is doing. Now I could argue either or. Like I have the ability to do that because I'm smart. The MAGA Maniac is not. So there's nothing that I can take away from anything that Trump ever said. Now here's the most damnable part, and it didn't come from this rally. It actually came from the rally before when he was in Arizona. When he brought up the guy, what is his name? Joe Arapo, I believe. He was the sheriff of Maricopa County, Phoenix.
Oh,
pretty much.
Aperto. Yeah, Sheriff Aperto.
He got one of them crazy Italian names.
Yeah. Apollo, or something like that.
Yeah. A guy who was basically convicted of contempt because he didn't want to bring forth the true reasoning behind him racially profiling Mexicans in Maricopa County. Because that's what he did. You know what I'm saying?
He also had inmates dressed in pink.
Yeah. I remember all that. The tent city county jail and all that. In 100-degree weather in the middle of the desert. You know what I'm saying? He got fired in contempt. He was sentenced to federal prison, and Trump pardoned him. Why did he pardon him? Because he needed him for a broader scope of his ideal of getting rid of all the immigrants. Not focusing on a true concrete plan when it comes to immigration reform. What Joe Arapo, whatever his name is, did, that's what the MAGA Maniacs see as immigration reform. That's what they see.
Did you see the
put them in concentration camps? Racially pro. If you look like a beaner, we're gonna lock you up. I don't care if you want or not.
Did you
And
see
I'm just keeping it real.
Poll?
Go say what?
The recent poll that they were saying that Biden did that law last week that he put in with the to deal with the border crisis.
Yeah.
So 70% of Americans agree with it. I think 30% oppose. And they were saying in 2016 it was not like that. It was pretty much flipped. So everybody's like backing this.
Yeah,
But
so that lets you know.
Executive order can be overturned. Executive order can be overturned.
Yeah, it
Easily.
can, and it will be.
Yeah.
It will be, because literally, again, I said this last week. This was the exact same thing that Trump tried to do in 2017.
Yes,
the exact same thing.
Yes, he did.
And the ACLU and all them got involved, and it got overturned. The same exact thing. You know, Steve Bannon had a hand in that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So again,
lest we forget,
the issue with immigration. You know, bringing it up as a sidebar, the issue with immigration is not closing the border, because there's never that's not a feasible option. Like, just think about it. Let's think it from a literal sense. What does closing the border mean exactly? You ain't gonna get no straight answer from a MAGA maniac, because they don't know. They just parroting stuff that they heard Trump and other people say.
Mm-hmm.
Closing the border is closing trade. Like, you can't have a closed border. It's impossible.
It really is.
So what do we need to do? We need to reform how immigration works in this country. How do you do that? You got to hire more judges to speed up the process of asylum. You got to hire more border patrol to actually do a job instead of being in one concentrated area. If you want to put up a wall, you actually got to do it at some point in time. If that's what you want to do. Trump didn't do it. That's for damn sure. So again, all this is just baloney. He's playing into the minds of the MAGA maniac, because they don't know no better. But to the point of the beginning of the video, the polls are showing, whether the MAGA maniacs like it or not, that the ones that were straddling the fence are now coming toward the side of not necessarily Biden, but not Trump.
Correct.
Right.
In terms of again, the never Trumpers, or the independents that were trying to see what was going to happen. Now they know what happened. Now they're saying, I'm not voting for a convicted felon. I don't give a damn what his policy is.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. So you could put those group of people in the same pot as you could put a lot of these extreme conservatives. I'm not conservatives, but progressives, in terms of not voting for Biden. So if we gonna look at it from that aspect, it's almost like hungry hippos. You putting the balls in a certain place, the hippos is eating them up. It's no more votes to get. You got your core base. Biden got his core base. We'll see what happens. Of course, there'll be a defining factor with like third-party candidates and stuff like that. But at this point, I don't believe there's nobody to campaign to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That is just what it is.
And
so we'll see who comes out on top.
What about those last minute voters that need convincing up until the 11th hour? That is always an annoying thing to see. Every year they show those guys.
But a lot of those people, usually we get a better optic because of the debates. This year they having the debates way sooner than expected.
Yeah,
so
that's weird. That's weird.
So we'll see.
Isn't the Republican convention like days after he's convicted?
Yeah. It's July 23rd, I think. I could be wrong.
Okay, yeah.
Let me look that up.
Convicted on the 11th. So that's gonna be crazy.
Did you guys see what I wrote? Where it's International Slurpee Day, so get your Slurpee on 11. Swallowed. Have you been swallowed? I digress.
That's right. International Slurpee.
Oh no,
Day.
it's the July 15th, so it's like only a couple days after.
Days away. Yeah, days away. Yeah. Wow. Yep, and it's exactly 1 month. Today is the 11th, so you got 1 month to go. All right. So speaking of 1 month to go, we got one more segment to go, and that is the lame duck. Going into session right now with the lame duck. Let me get the band tuned up. All right, so here we go. Back in session, lame duck style.
First things first, it is lame duck session.
For the United Nations General Assembly to share the extraordinary progress we've made. In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
You're trying your best, but it never feels like enough.
I started having second thoughts almost the moment I sat down on the plane.
Lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off. Turn them off. Let's go. Ready? Turn
We go back a long way. She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
So I changed my return flight and flew back on the first available flight I could take.
I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
I'm sick and tired of ordinary people being fleeced.
I'm tired of being quiet. I'm sick and tired. I'm just sick and tired.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
With great power comes great responsibility.
These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones. You see? That's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. That's a long way, isn't it? These eyes. You want to see a bird graveyard? You just go. Take a look. A bird graveyard? Go under a windmill someday. You'll see more birds than you've ever seen ever in your life.
Did you apologize for the behavior that went on with you and your date or the vaping,
Kyle,
or did you apologize, or did you apologize for lying to voters about what you did that night and the disrespect that you showed to service workers that night? You've repeatedly taken credit for projects in Colorado that you asked for funding for, but then you voted against the bill in the end. You're able to vote no and get the praise for voting no because you know that there are enough other Republicans who are willing to vote for those bills so they'll pass. You blame Republican voters for the fact that you nearly lost a safe seat and not your own conduct.
Oh my God.
Get the fuck out of here, bitch! Woo!
The very worst day of her public life, when her relatively low-profile Republican primary debate blew up on social media, exposing an hour's worth of her public humiliation to the American people.
That was about the softest reference that he could have made, but do you want to talk about the theater thing?
Sure. So, Kyle, I certainly have owned up to my night out in Denver. And, you know, I've gone on that public apology tour, and I'm grateful for the mercy and grace that has been shown. But I'm not going to continue to live life in shame and be beat up by this. And, you know, I would like to go back to my legislative record for just a second.
We're not going to do that. You had plenty of time to answer the question. You chose not to. That's fine. I just want to make sure.
I'll have more time.
And you have apologized for the theater incident.
I certainly have.
And I just want to make sure. Did you apologize for the behavior that went on with you and your date or the vaping?
Kyle,
or did you apologize for lying to voters about what you did that night and the disrespect that you showed to service workers that night? What specifically were you apologizing for?
I don't believe there was disrespect. There were things that were absolutely taken out of context.
There's video of your interactions with service workers. I'm asking,
right,
are you apologizing for the lying to voters
that I flipped someone off, and I did not. So, I mean, I think it's been very mischaracterized. I'm apologizing for you, Kyle Clark, getting footage and releasing that. And people seeing this in a very private moment.
Certainly. It was very important to figure out whether you were telling the truth
you just had an
or whether a
interview
public
recently with
agency was lying about your conduct.
You just
Either
had
way was
an
very
interview with
important for
CityCast Denver, and you were saying...
So, again, that's the moderator in question. Kyle Clark, by the way, as far as I'm concerned, this guy should be drafted to the big leagues. I mean, he is quick on his feet. He is poised. He is unflappable. He doesn't crumble the way that other debate moderators, even established, much higher profile debate moderators, seem to do. So I think this guy should be a debate moderator for presidential elections or higher profile legislative offices. I digress. About her voting record with respect to taking credit for bills and accomplishments of President Biden and the Democrats, and even occasionally bipartisan bills. but that she nonetheless opposed, that she nonetheless voted against. As you know, Lauren Boebert has a long and tortured history of this, as do many of her other Republican peers, where they try to stymie Democratic or even, again, occasionally bipartisan progress. And then when it succeeds in spite of them, then they try to take credit for it by deceiving their constituents. So she has another exchange here with debate moderator Kyle Clark, which is just chef's kiss.
Knowledge.
Let's talk about the use of earmarks in Congress.
You did that very same thing and released
Members
it to the world.
request funding for pet projects. That's what an earmark is. And some Republicans have rejected that process as like wasteful and corrupt and that kind of thing. Colorado's Republican Congressman, former Ken Buck, did not participate in earmarks. Retiring Republican Congressman Doug Lamborn did not use earmarks. Ms. Boebert, when you were elected to Congress, you said that earmarks were wasteful. You said they foster corruption. You said they're a way to buy votes. And then you decided to start using them too. I wanted to ask a follow-up question on the issue of earmarks. Ms. Boebert, you've repeatedly taken credit for projects in Colorado that you asked for funding for, but then you voted against the bill in the end. Bridge over the Roaring Fork River in Glenwood Springs, water treatment plant in Gunnison, I-70 interchange in Grand Junction. You're able to vote no and get the praise for voting no because you know that there are enough other Republicans who are willing to vote for those bills so they'll pass. My question for you is this, and just a short answer, it truly is a yes or no question. If you were the deciding vote, would you still have voted no and killed all of those projects in Colorado that you now take credit for?
Yes, and I would have worked for a process. I would have worked for a process to get those over the line, but I worked to get those in, and I have had over 80 initiatives signed into law through the appropriations process.
I appreciate the direct answer. Moderator Kyle Clark holding Lauren Boebert's feet to the fire about her political risks. Basically, the risks that she poses of losing elections, losing contests, and Lauren Boebert seems to want to blame Republicans for that.
We did have a very close election, but we also had 50,000 Republicans not show up to vote. I do not believe me being here is making this a vulnerable seat. This is a huge move for conservatives in Colorado.
So just to be clear, Ms. Boebert, you blame Republican voters for the fact that you nearly lost a safe seat and not your own conduct.
When 50,000 Republican voters do not show up and think that their vote does not matter, that does make an impact on elections.
Yikes. That's a bold strategy, Cotton, to quote that Will Ferrell movie. Let's see how it pays off. She's blaming the voters in a roundabout way. Like, hey, listen, it was a safe seat, but Republican voters were insufficiently motivated to turn out for me, and that's kind of their fault. He brings up a reason why, one reason why, not the only reason why, Republican voters might not be pleased with Lauren Boebert and might not award her their vote because perhaps she's not very good at her job.
In my 5 years in the state house, I passed 38 bills signed by the governor in a majority Democrat House and General Assembly. I know what it means for a bill to be passed and signed by a governor or president. So for Ms. Boebert, how many bills did you prime sponsor? I said 38, I prime sponsored, not co-sponsor, because you can co-sponsor post facto. Anybody can put their name on a bill after it passes. How many bills did you prime sponsor in the U.S. Congress that actually were signed by the President of the United States?
So thank you so much, Richard. You know, it's interesting that you're touting the legislation that you have passed. You also say that you are a no-nonsense conservative. Well, I think the voters back home should know that a no-nonsense conservative should not have a failing Liberty score. We have the Independent Institute who scores representatives for their legislative record. And if you are not voting how you campaign, well, then you get a negative impact. And I'm the only person.
Would you like to answer the question, or would you like to talk about Liberty scores? You can answer the question, ma'am. It's okay.
Will. So,
I asked a very specific question. Please answer.
One of my favorite pieces of legislation that has been signed into law is my Pueblo Jobs Act that creates at least 1,000 jobs in Pueblo, Colorado. We worked to incorporate the BRAC process. So nearly $7 billion in infrastructure would not be bulldozed and go to waste. But there are also many other pieces of legislation that I've passed through the House. And
it doesn't matter if it's passed through the House. If the president doesn't sign it, ma'am,
government, and I'm not going to compromise my principles to just pass a bill
that
Thank does not honor.
I would give you one more opportunity if you would like to answer his question, which is the number of bills you've prime sponsored that have been signed by the president.
So my Pueblo Jobs Act has been signed into law.
A number, please.
That is one.
Got it.
That's awkward. So listen, I think that was a telling exchange. Lauren Boebert makes the same mistake that so many other partisan MAGA Republicans do, which is they're like, listen, screw accomplishments, screw successes. The point is to stick it to Democrats. I will not work with Democrats, and I will not boast of my work with Democrats. So I've gotten very little done. As a matter of fact, this Pueblo Jobs Act, she again voted against the primary bill, which provided the funding for it. So even that, in many ways, was done in spite of her. She got her cake and ate it too, just one time. He was able to work cooperatively with the other side to produce results for his constituents. What have you done to that effect? She hasn't. This is the problem with MAGA Republicans, because they have convinced themselves that it's actually a win to thwart Democrats, even on common sense bipartisan issues. Anything that could be spun as a political victory for the Democrats is not worth undertaking, even if it's good for my own constituents. And he was right to hammer her on this. As Holtorf points out, it's irrelevant if it doesn't make it through the Senate and is signed into law by the president. MAGA Republicans don't get that, and they should be punished for it ruthlessly at the ballot box in November. Because again, this is the problem. MAGA Republicans have to run as far right as possible, and they have to be as deranged and unhinged as possible to win a MAGA Republican primary. And then in a state like Colorado, which is not a red state, then they have to run twice as far in the opposite direction to try to appeal to independents as well, because just winning the MAGA Republican base is not sufficient to win you a general election. This is what MAGA doesn't get. This is the catch-22 that they put themselves in, because they're an incompetent cult of personality that's devoted entirely to pleasing Donald Trump. Well, it turns out pleasing Donald Trump doesn't always win you elections. As a matter of fact, more often than not, it costs you elections. But MAGA doesn't get it.
Oh boy, I guess I need to give myself the lame duck because I didn't upgrade or updated the lame duck card there. So it's actually lame duck number 42. And there she is. There she is. Put the spotlight on number 42, trash bag human of the week, Lauren Boebert. Lauren Boebert. In Colorado, there was a Republican debate, and Boebert was there, but she didn't do well. So we're going to go to MD. MD, what do you think about Lauren Boebert performance, lame duck number 42?
Yeah, there go my girl, Lauren Boebert. So yeah, man, it's funny because I think where she's at in the polls right now in the primary is like around third. So it ain't looking too good for her. You know what I mean? Hey man, she got destroyed in the debate. Like that's just what it is. And not only by her opponents in the debate, she got destroyed by the moderator. It was almost like a shucklebutt round. Shout out to SVDL. She got shucklebutt with a lot of the stuff that came about in that particular debate. Hey, at the end of the day, here's the deal, folks. On a more broader sense, it's not looking good for pretty much a vast majority of the MAGA maniac Congress races around the country, and that's just what it is, showing you that either people are planning on voting split ticket, or it's a more bigger sign of what's to come, and that's just what it is. Ken Buck was a avid constitutional social conservative. Lauren Boebert is not. She may try to play like she is, but she's really not. She parrots the MAGA maniac ideology, and that ain't a good look for that particular district where she's trying to go. That's just what it is. I mean, again, folks, after 2024, the infighting won't be over, because again, you're gonna have a more of a preface when it comes to old standard GOP versus the MAGA maniac. And we're seeing when it comes to that, at least congressionally, the MAGA maniacs ain't looking too good. So is it a telltale sign, or is it a split ticket situation? That's to come find out after 2024. Other than that, yeah, Lauren Boebert, like I said, holla at me. You want to go see? We can go see Bad Boys for Life. You know, just me and you, and we can sit
There's
in
a
the
new
dark.
Beetlejuice coming out too, MD.
Oh, okay. That's even better. We can go see that, and just me and you. I get you some popcorn, and and we can have some fun in the back of the theater. But other than that, leave the politics alone.
All right. Ricardo, what do you think about Boebert, number 42?
I mean, all I can say is Beetlejuice, or Beetlejuice. I'm not the least bit surprised by this. She did look like she came unprepared. And by all means, it's kind of sad to see her go down this road of not knowing what she's talking about. And like MD, now it looks like there's going to be a split between the people that were voted in and the new crop of people that are coming about. So I wish her well, and I don't know if it's looking too good for her right now. It's kind of sad to see her, Miss Boebert, go down this road. And again, I mean, I don't know. I taken back to like MD. I don't know what to say. She got decimated, literally and figuratively speaking. By all means, that moderator guy needs to be on the national scene for real, because I did an outstanding job at pushing back and doing those, because some people would have been very and not know how to be in control of the moment, but he was not having it, and I give him kudos. So whoever is in charge of national debates on the primetime scene, please grab this man. He's a national treasure. Grab him as soon as possible. If you need to fine tune him, do it by all means by now, and if not, please put him on the CNN debate for the. But Miss Boebert, Beetlejuice, and or Beetlejuice, because it ain't happening for you, man. LB, I wish you well.
Hey, Venkat, I forgot to mention. So she talked about well, the guy brought up her voting against certain things in her state in regards to like road work and funds that she still received, but she voted no against. Tell me, Venkat, you might know what particular bill was she talking about that she voted no against. Do you know what it is?
I think isn't that like a Biden
It was the Biden infrastructure bill.
Yep. Which a lot of
That's how they
Republicans
got
did.
all that money. A lot of Republicans did it, correct? But they had a handout.
Yes.
To get that money for road work and stuff like that.
And they want to take for things that they didn't want to do, but we digress, because it looks good on paper and sounds good when you the MAGA crowd. It ain't gonna work this time.
Right. And also she's talking about that was a very private moment. How the hell was it private when you got caught on surveillance jacking the dude off? And what's private about that?
It was not to be seen, MD. That's what it means. By all means.
Well, some CCTV saw it.
I mean, did you not watch that Will Smith movie about the same politics in motion? What was the movie called again? Something which movie I'm talking about, with him being like red and blah blah blah.
You're talking about Enemy of the State?
Enemy, is it Enemy? Yes, there we go. Enemy of the State. Great movie, by the way.
Yep.
But that's what it is. I mean, yeah, it's amazing to see these MAGA maniacs just fall to the waistline now, because it's interesting going forward. A lot of them are not going to make it, and a lot of them are. Like the MP's going to make it, but will Boebert make it? I don't know. It's question. Could be seen a split down the middle for the MAGA that are out there. It's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward, but it's quite interesting to see and watch in real time.
It's so many of that was just so devastating. It was like she could get no air anywhere. She just kept taking hit after hit. I mean, my God.
She thought she could MAGA babble her way out of things, and it's not gonna. That's why I keep saying, MAGA maniacs don't realize that there's a plethora of stuff people remember. And if you have people like this guy that was a great moderator and doing his job, we're gonna see a lot of that where they're gonna be unable to. Like they've been going on a diatribe like MTG. We're gonna hit the facts, and you have to rebuttal them at the same time. If they're gonna get out of the speaking terms of how they're supposed to be speaking, you got to the same right time just before they're about to exit the question, hit them again. Question. So stuff like that you're gonna have to do. But I think she came to say when you're not prepared and you try to wing stuff like how Trump does all the time, this is not gonna work for you because
I don't think there was any level of preparation she could have done because she has to run on a record. And when you are asked how many bills you pass, and she said one, and the one is the bill that the guy you claim is so bad as far as a president, Joe Biden. Like, I mean, there's nowhere to turn. You didn't do any work all year long, the entire time you've been in office, and now you're being called out. That's why I always felt like everybody in the Congress and the Senate should have stats, and these stats should track like how much bills they pay in a calendar year, pass every year, like what the significance and the importance are, like rating the different levels of importance of the, because some of them, when they claim to pass something, they may have renamed a street or something like that, and like they'll tote that as like an actual win, like. So if they just put some stats in politics, that will weed out a lot of the garbage that we have in the government. But I mean, it was so good that guy went at her and said, "I passed 38 bills. How many you pass?" And she stumbled and stuttered and tried to get around the question, but that moderator held her ass to the fire.
Yes,
he came back to it. Do you want to answer the question or not? And she said one. Thank you. And he went to the next thing. He didn't even give her a chance.
That's good. For shame, Boba. You had one to do, and that was to come prepared, answer the damn questions, and keep it. You stumbled left, right, and center. You had your ass handed that night. You need to do better. And some of y'all need to do better because, I'm going to wing it thing that I see y'all do and not be going running facts ain't going to slide or work with certain people like myself. Again, be going after the independent voters that would need to be swayed. Yeah, none of y'all are doing that. None of y'all ain't doing it.
All right, so we go do our final sign off here, but I just want to give a nightcap video real quick. This nightcap video, and then we'll go into our final sign offs.
If Donald Trump can be a felon and be president, then we absolutely, without a doubt, in this country need to make sure felon is removed off of all job applications, felon is removed off of rental applications, felon is removed off of professional certifications, things like dentists, massage therapists, realtors, mortgage loan officers. Those are professional certifications. Anything like that, felon needs to be removed off of it because the highest position in the land should be the most sacred and should be the example for everybody in this country. And if this is not a political post, this is an equal opportunity post, and this is a post that is about not holding down the everyday average American citizen.
All right. So, MD, give you a final sign off, but before that, would you like to expand upon the video we just saw?
Hey, I agree with him, man. To a certain extent, I definitely agree with him. You know what I mean? Of course, I mean you have some felony convictions that need to be suitable for rejection, depending on what it was. Of course, and I don't think he went that deep into it. But other than that, absolutely, 100%. It's so many things that restrict us as American citizens from pursuing this freedom that we talk about, and it's to the point where it's ridiculous. I think not a large majority, but I think a big chunk of some of the depravity that we see here facing America, like homelessness, some of the crime, some of the poverty, can be removed simply based off removing a lot of these injunctions that a lot of people have that's not allowing them to pursue that freedom. You know what I'm saying? Like getting a house, like getting a certain position at a job, or whatever the situation may be. So 100% I agree. Hey, other than that, great show once again. And I'll see y'all on the next
All right, Ricardo, what you got with your final sign off and your thoughts on the last video we saw?
Great show. I mean, ain't wrong what he said. The guy in the final. It's like MD stated. There's a lot of things the country is known for. We can't look past that. There's certain things that are put in place now that could scare masses. You know what I mean? In terms of the interpretation of laws, in terms of rollbacks of laws that we've seen a year or two. The interest of civil liberties and things that are being constituted in our nation that people are threatening to take away and put in. It's just crazy. But at the end of the day, we are a 200-year-old institution. You know what I mean? For democracy, there's certain templates that other countries look up to, and it's us. And we're the beacon of hope. I hope it continues that way. Again, we have a civic duty as citizens of this country to vote. I don't understand why people take that lightly when people fought, were hanged, and all sort of, lest we forget women were just recently given the rights. That wasn't too long ago, even though it seemed like ancient history. But I digress. People, you have a civic duty to do it. You know what? You gotta vote. I hate to say it, but we come too far to not give ourselves that push of voting. So go in that booth, care who you vote for, vote, but just make the right decision. And great show, next TFP, and yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
no doubt. Hey, real quick, because I don't know if I'm gonna do a show this Thursday or not. If I do, I got a couple of topics, but I don't know which one to do. I'm thinking about the truth about DEI or the truth about Black conservatives. I don't know. I might put a poll
Truth
up.
about Black conservatives.
Oh, okay. All right. Van Cat called it. All right.
Yeah. Do the
that's what I'm gonna roll with Thursday. Truth about Black conservatives. All right. I got you.
All right, so we got Thursday at 8:30 p.m. You got MD's going to be in the thought box. Now, MD, you don't have God and Government this Monday, right?
This coming up Monday, yeah. I didn't do it yesterday because I was off yesterday. So.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay. And Mondays is also Man Talk Monday, and yesterday's show, Man Talk Monday, you might want to check this channel and watch that show again. Of course, you have Mike, you got Trevor, you got Kev, and sometimes you have Wayne. Wayne hasn't been on the show lately because of his commitments with his job, but when he's there, it's awesome.
Because of me, he ain't there because of me. He running. That's why he ain't there.
And will we ever see that showdown? I mean, that was the big thing.
Shout out to Wayne.
Huh?
I said, shout out to Wayne.
Yeah, but hopefully we'll see that showdown at one point, because that would be interesting. Shout out to Tequila. Tequila, of course, always. And speaking of Tequila, next week, Monday, Trevor and Tequila will be on the stream. It won't be a regular Man Talk Monday. It'll be a stream featuring the two of them addressing some controversies and issues. Trevor got hot yesterday.
Yeah, I got to go back and watch that show.
Yeah, I can't even blame Trevor. I really can't even blame him.
WWE didn't screw Brett. Brett screwed Brett.
There you go. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. Shout out to everyone on Twitter. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube. Peace to Jackie McCall. Peace to Marie G. Maria G was actually in the chat for the first time in a long time. Peace out to her. And next week, I think we're going to be leaning towards a kind of, because we're coming up on Juneteenth, so I'll probably have some sort of like Black history thing tilted towards voting rights and whatnot. So tune in next week for that show.
Hey, are y'all going to Trevor's Juneteenth celebration?
There's no way in hell I could go. Okay. There's no way in hell I could go.
Because I'm thinking about making a trip down there. I got some Juneteenth decorations. I may have to go down there and make sure everything's right and exact.
Is that what we're calling it these
Yeah, that's what we call it.
Oh. I mean,
I got a couple of American flags. I got some streamers I got to put up.
I wish I could go. I wish I could go, but I can't. Anything else on that, Ricardo? Juneteenth?
No, sir, but we'll see if there's many surprises that will come about on Juneteenth.
Yeah. and hopefully we'll get the colors. We'll get the colors right this time. We won't
That's
offend.
Right. That's right.
We won't offend MD.
But not doing red, so we don't know what color it is.
That's right. All right. So thanks to everybody for tuning in here, and we'll see you next week on TFP. Until then, peace.
Peace.
She just said a terrible thing. You know what she said? Shout it out, because I don't want to. Okay, you're not allowed to say, and I never expect to hear that from you again. She said, I never expect to hear that from you again. She said he's. That's terrible. Terrible.